Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. People in Marvel. Sign in at the beginning of God-level perception. Chapter 21. Who? It's too difficult, isn't it? Let alone 100. Peter Parker was already out of breath after only doing 30 push-ups. But fortunately, he was in a good state of mind, trying to maintain a stable state and continue to do push-ups. After finishing in 3 groups, he was sweating profusely, his face was flushed, and his body was as heavy as lead. But out of trust in Chen Yun, Peter Parker still decided to persevere. If you persist for a few more days, you should be able to become stronger soon, right? After doing the push-ups, it was 12 o'clock in the evening, and Peter Parker quickly climbed into bed. Tomorrow, I will go to the Osborn group to participate in the seminar. The next day, as soon as he woke up, Chen Yun realized that things seemed to be getting out of control. Whether it's mobile phones or TVs, reports about Batman are overwhelming. Among them, the most eye-catching one is undoubtedly the shot of Chen Yun running in the air. So handsome, so cool, is this a superhero? Silently turning off the comments on the phone, Chen Yun prepared to change his mood and go downstairs to exercise. But when he left the rental house and passed the landlord's box, only then did he realize how hot he had become. Because even the newspapers put the matter of his Batman on the front page. Coupled with the picture of the windbreaker being blown up, there is another appalling headline. It's almost as if Chen Yun, the Batman in the real world, is going to be the final word. These days must not be shot again. At the very least, we have to wait until the limelight passes. While exercising, Chen Yun thought silently in his heart. Fortunately, these 2 days were weekends, so Chen Yun didn't have to go to school. He had expected that after arriving at school, the discussion among classmates would definitely be about Batman. But then again, Chen Yun didn't seem to have attended school for a few days this week. Being late is still commonplace, plus yesterday. Well, he went to SHIELD headquarters yesterday and just skipped class. And the professor who has been giving himself small shoes doesn't know if he has given up on him. Facing Chen Yun, who was late and absent from class, he didn't even send a text message. Another good thing about not having to go to school is his eyes. Ever since he acquired the so-called 7th Hokage Sharingan, a skill that Chen Yun considered useless. With the passage of time, the ability has begun to gradually show changes. His eyes turned red, and everything he saw through his eyes slowed down at the same time. Anything that comes into view immediately slows down, as if time has been stretched. Not only that, but the speed and line of sight of things are much improved than before. Hey, it's a pity that there is no close button. After studying for a whole morning, Chen Yun couldn't find a way to control the ability to turn off. Not only that, but his eyes were red as if he had pink eye disease, so he had to put on sunglasses early in the morning. Just as he was having a headache, Chen Yu's cell phone rang suddenly. He picked it up and saw that the name displayed on it was his current boss. Director of SHIELD, Nick Fury. Haha, should I call you Chen now, or Batman? You made a lot of noise. As soon as it was connected, Nick Fury's teasing laughter came from the phone. I can't help it either, who knows, I'll be photographed. Also, he was nicknamed Batman. What Nick Fury said made Chen Yun dumbfounded. He was also a little helpless. For such a little thing, even SHIELD knew about it. If he had known this earlier, he would have dressed more tightly, and would have avoided the crowd to avoid being photographed. Ha 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 ha, it doesn't matter, the military and the government are envious of our SHIELD agency having such an agent. Nick Fury was in a good mood, and the corner of his mouth couldn't control his smile when he thought of the inquiry calls from the military and the government that he had just received in turn. Because inside the windbreaker, Chen Yun never took off the SHIELD uniform. Therefore, although his identity has not been exposed, the matter of SHIELD agents cannot be hidden from the military and the government, who are everywhere. The agent under him has made a big splash, and he was also given the title of Batman, the pioneer of justice in the comics. No matter what Nick Fury thinks, it is a happy thing. By the way, I almost forgot the business. There is a task tonight. If you are free, you can participate. After talking and laughing, Nick Fury coughed and said in a serious tone. What mission? You need me, a new agent? Chen Yun asked in bewilderment. After all, he hadn't even been on the job for a day. Don't worry, Hawkeye is mainly responsible for this mission. You just need to help him from the side. Hearing Chen Yun's concerns, Nick Fury explained, the goal of the mission is also relatively easy. Jin Bin, the gang leader in New York, secretly smuggled in a batch of arms through a channel we don't know. He's a little restless, so we need to teach him a lesson. I think your target is actually that batch of arms. After listening to Nick Fury's words, Chen Yun said speechlessly, teach a gangster a lesson. This is not the job of our S.H.I.E.L.D. Ha 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 ha. Chen Yun guessed his thoughts, and Nick Fury smiled awkwardly. However, as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., he would not become angry because of such a trivial matter. Instead, he said frankly, of course, the weapon must be taken back. As for Jin Bin, recalling Black Widow Natasha's observations on Chen Yun, a smile appeared on Nick Fury's face. Who lets gold and makes money that doesn't belong to him? Money. Hearing this word, Chen Yun felt that his eyes were getting better, and he hurriedly asked. If you complete this task, will there be a bonus? Of course. $1 million. Seeing Chen Yun voluntarily raising this question, the cunning Nick Fury replied with a smirk. And, to celebrate your new nickname, I will give you an additional combat uniform for free. $100 million. Hearing Nick Fury say the amount, Chen Yun was in a good mood. He smiled and said, I didn't expect there to be so many. If the Bureau's funds are tight, I can give you a discount. Next time I will break your bone myself. Nick Fury cursed with a smile. But compared to this negligible bonus amount, Jin Bing's arsenal is even more enticing. If the task is completed better, you can add another $100 million. After hanging up the phone, Chen Yun was in a good mood. This is $100 million. And if the task is completed well, it will be $200 million. So much bonus to think of just one task. When doing pull-ups, he even hummed a song with great interest. It was also at this time that Chen Yun suddenly discovered that his sequelae of supernatural powers seemed to be a little lighter. What happened? Chen Yun didn't understand why he looked around, and he found that the discomfort had eased. Upon discovering this, Chen Yun hurried back to the rental house. Standing in front of the mirror and observing carefully, he was pleasantly surprised to find that the original red color in his eyes had also faded a lot. But I didn't do anything. Chen Yun frowned slightly, with complicated emotions. Then I saw the eyes turn back to the red color they were before. Could it be? This change caused Chen Yun's heart to move. He hurried to the living room and found a videotape of a comedy. Putting it into an old video recorder, accompanied by an unpleasant sound of toothache. The TV starts playing a movie. Ha ha ha. As the plot deepened, Chen Yun couldn't help laughing along with the plot. The mood that was depressed because of the Batman incident before became refreshed. Gradually, the movie that was still playing in slow motion began to return to normal. It really is the mood. The switch of Sharingan is actually dominated by mood. After discovering the method to control the supernatural ability, Chen Yun's spirit suddenly lifted. After operating several times in a row, Chen Yun finally found a way to switch Sharingan on and off. When you are depressed or angry, the blood wheel eye opens. And when the mood is stable or happy, the blood wheel eyes are closed. Because of the ability to control the switch, Chen Yun also completely mastered the ability of this ability. When opening this pair of sharing eyes, Chen Yun's static vision and dynamic vision will be greatly enhanced. It is not too much to say that it is an exponential growth. As long as he thinks, any changes in objects can't escape his eyes. Even the tiniest flying insects will be seen through and react faster. Coming to the balcony, Chen Yun activated his own abilities, and then moved his gaze to the pedestrians in the distance. When he stared closely, he could clearly see all the changes in that person's details. If you use a metaphor, it's like watching a movie, and it's playing a slow-motion movie. This feeling is amazing. At this moment, he was standing on the edge of the balcony, with nothing around him, and the sound of the wind howling past his ears. As far as the line of sight is concerned, everything is under his control. A kitten about to fall from a roof, a bus that just passed by and was about to break. There is also a very vigilant mouse that will soon be caught in a mousetrap. He had a panoramic view of all these subtle changes. Although these subtle changes were not enough to threaten him, Chen Yun was still able to clearly grasp their trajectories. What does this mean? As long as he wants, he can easily judge any movement of the enemy. At the same time, he can also make accurate predictions and defenses. After continuous experiments, Chen Yun felt a little dizzy. He collected himself, only to realize that it was a natural reaction caused by his body not being able to keep up with his eyes. Sure enough, it is a pirated copy of Sharingan, and it has side effects. What kind of Sharingan is this? It doesn't even have a Guyu. It's just called red eye disease. After complaining a few words, Chen Yun gave up the ability training. Just as I sat down on the sofa, my phone rang. When I picked it up, it turned out that his combat uniform had been delivered. Soon, Chen Yun took 2 packages, one big and one small, back to the rental house. Inside are his custom-made combat uniforms and weapons. In addition to the large windbreaker with a hood, there are also pants and a pair of boots that are neatly stacked. After taking out these, Chen Yun found that there was an extra mask of the same style as Batman. Is this the free giveaway Nick Fury was talking about? Don the full uniform, plus a free Batman mask. No matter how Chen Yun looked at it, he felt that he would earn the title of Batman. Sighing, he opened another package. It was the weapon he had chosen before. Sure enough, Nick Fury, a kind-hearted man, added material in the middle. In the small box, the bat-shaped darts alone took up more than half of the space. Thank you. Since it's free, Chen Yun naturally won't dislike it. He took out a bat dart and put it in the palm of his hand, and began to observe it carefully. This thing looks much thinner and lighter than ordinary daggers. And from the surface, it seems that there is a metal texture attached to it, which feels quite comfortable to the touch. But, how to use this thing? Chen Yun frowned and thought, do you want to throw the bat dart directly like in the movie? Chen Yun casually threw the dart at the pillow on the sofa. A black shadow flashed by, and a big hole burst through the sofa in an instant. Looking at the bat dart that fell to the ground, Chen Yun was dumbfounded. I really don't want to be Batman. But, it smells so good. After happily putting down the batarang, Chen Yun took out the hidden blade again. While waving his arms, the surroundings seemed to be enveloped by a piece of silver light. With the blessing of Sharingan, even Chen Yun is not very good at using swords. Can also accurately stab the weak point. And it's the kind of fatal weakness, such as the heart or the skull or something. In this case, even martial arts might not be able to avoid it. Unless he has a super strong physique, can withstand Chen Yun's attack, and even is immune to attack. The cloak is a bit too long. After experimenting for a while, except that the windbreaker was a bit long, Chen Yun was very satisfied with this equipment. Look, set a handsome turn. Avoid the embarrassment of being thrown in the face by the cape. Also, it seems that there is still a bit of furniture. Looking at the scattered furniture on the ground speechlessly, Chen Yun whispered distress-edly. I don't know, this is due to the loss caused by training. Can S.H.I.E.L.D. reimburse you? Wow, it's so cool in here. Osborne Building, Peter Parker looked around enviously. Not only is there high technology here, but there are even various animals for experiments. It is simply the best internship place for him as a top student. What's more, I heard that Jane also wants to practice here. Thinking of this, Peter Parker secretly glanced at the goddess beside him with a reddish face. If the two of us can work here together. Just as Peter Parker was thinking about the future, he suddenly felt a pain in his neck. As if stung by something, he quickly scratched his neck with his hands, but he didn't catch anything. But after he looked around, he found a dead spider under his feet. What the hell is this, a spider? Well, are you planning to demolish the house? Looking at the living room that seemed to be ravaged by a tornado, Zhao Shiren's face was covered with black lines. Seeing the embarrassed Chen Yun in front of her, she couldn't bear it and shouted, Chen Yun, you are such a fool. I'll be in charge of buying new furniture. Zhao Shiren, who was in a berserk state, immediately calmed down Chen Yun, who still wanted to continue with the weapon test. He didn't dare to wait any longer, and quickly fled the scene without leaving a word. Carrying the package containing combat uniforms and weapons, Chen Yun boarded the bus to Papa's bar. Won't you buy a car? You are an agent now. You are still a superhero with the title of Batman. Why do you still need to take the bus? Zhao Shiren's chattering voice came from the phone. Touching his nose in embarrassment, Chen Yun silently hung up the phone while thinking to himself. It's not that I don't want to change it, it's that I bought weapons with all the money. Although you have a lot of financial ability, your financial ability is very average. We still have to hurry up and finish the task. The bonus is 200 million US dollars. With this money, I can consider changing houses and cars. After thinking about it, the bus arrived at Hell's Kitchen. Papa's bar. Daredevil Matt Murdock is carefully wiping his blind stick and doing daily weapon maintenance. Suddenly, his ears moved, and he caught a slight footstep. Looking up and listening carefully to the small voice coming from the roof, Matt's expression changed. Taking the blind stick, he walked out of the bar carefully through the back door. As soon as he went out, Matt heard a whoosh. His ears moved, and he found something shooting straight at him. Hastily swept across with the blind stick in his hand, and the items that hit him were swept to the ground by Matt. After blocking the attack, Matt put the blind stick across his chest again, ready to resist the attack from the roof. It looks like the injury is almost healed. Chen Yun, who was wearing a combat uniform, jumped off the roof and landed directly beside Matt. Matt, hello, so it's you, Chen. Hearing that it was Chen Yun's voice, Matt felt relieved. Taking back the blind stick, he said with a smile, I didn't know before that you were still from the East. That doesn't matter, what matters is that we are partners. Seeing the sincere smile on Matt's face, Chen Yun also showed a smile. And I also have my own nickname, you can call me Batman when you're outside. I'm going to do a big event tonight, are you interested in participating? After a pause, Chen Yun stated the purpose of this trip, the goal of this operation is Golden Bian. It's him. Hearing the name, Matt had a look of shock on his face. The arrest of Kingpin, who was already notorious in Hell's Kitchen, had always been his goal. Faced with Chen Yun's invitation, Matt immediately made a choice. Wait for me. After speaking, Matt hurried back to the bar. Not long after, Matt reappeared in front of Chen Yun in the form of Daredevil wearing a set of red tights. He was accompanied by a blue Ford. Being confused, Matt called him into the car, and Chen Yun watched numbly as Matt started the car. Under Matt's skilled operation, the car started quickly. Your eyes. He stared dumbfounded as Matt drove the car on the road. Blind people driving. Chen Yun was full of words, but he didn't dare to say them at all, for fear of affecting the Daredevil who was driving. Thus concocting an explosive news that 2 superheroes were sacrificed in a car accident. Because of the chemical agent, my eyes have been like this since I was a child. Aware of Chen Yun's worry, Matt smiled and explained, it's also because of this. Although I lost my light, my 5 senses are extremely strong. Perhaps, this is also a kind of compensation. Laughing at himself, Matt turned his face to Chen Yun, and continued, I feel like you are a friend of mine. Punisher Frank. Because the wife and children were killed by gangsters. As for the gang members, he is just like you, he never keeps alive. Chen Yun nodded, but did not speak. I'm afraid it will affect this blind driver who doesn't look at the road while driving. Fortunately, it turned out that Chen Yun's worries were unnecessary. Matt drove steadily and they arrived at their destination safely. When they arrived at the pier of their destination, Matt stopped the car a long distance away. There are many people ahead. Pointing forward with a solemn expression, Matt reminded, and these people are all armed. Chen Yun immediately got out of the car, stood on the side of the road, and looked in the direction Matt said. Really, a group of heavily armed people are constantly patrolling around the pier. Pay attention to concealment, don't be discovered by the enemy. While Chen Yun was looking around, a voice suddenly rang in his ears. He looked at the voice in surprise, but found no one. It wasn't until a black figure slowly came out from the shadows that Chen Yun realized where the comer was before. Only by the huge bow behind the shadow, Chen Yun confirmed the identity of the visitor. One of the most famous agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Hawkeye Clinton Francis Button. Are you Chen Yun? Looking Chen Yun up and down, Barton lowered his voice and said, it seems that your agent ability still needs more training. Hurry up and dodge before the batch of weapons arrives. Don't expose yourself to the enemy's sight. Glancing at Matt, who was blind, Barton continued, your senses are very keen, but this is a mission of S.H.I.E.L.D. If you are discovered, you must leave immediately. Throwing earphones to the 2 of them respectively, Barton quickly dodged and hid himself under the side wall of a rock. Matt squatted silently in a shadow. With his super 5 senses, he can easily find where the opponent's gaze is, and it is easy to avoid it. Looking at the two people who showed their abilities, Chen Yun did not stay idle. Summon the transparent glass door and start climbing up. After a while, he climbed to a height of tens of meters. Under the cover of the dark night, among the three, Chen Yun, who was hiding above the sky, was the least likely to be found. Hiding in the air, Chen Yun, who had a good vision, quickly noticed the movement on the pier. A cruise ship had already arrived at the pier while they were talking. The people who got off the cruise ship also met up with the militants at the pier. Looking at the scenes of gangster transactions that could only be seen on TV in the past, Chen Yun felt a special excitement. But for this mission, he didn't intend to make a move. Since there are two experienced superheroes, Hawkeye and Daredevil, here, he just needs to follow behind and call 666. After the cruise ship and the people on the pier connected, there was a commotion from afar. Looking from the sky, Chen Yun saw a row of luxury cars galloping from afar, and finally stopped by the cruise ship pier. And the most conspicuous among them is a bulletproof and thickened version of the presidential car. On the huge body of this Escalade, it is also plated with a layer of dazzling gold. When the golden car stopped slowly, dozens of bodyguards in suits and sunglasses got off from other luxury cars. Cooperate with the original armed personnel to surround the entire pier. A group of men in black suits and white gloves filed down and stood one by one near the deck. After everyone was seated, the door of the Escalade, which was dazzling under the lights, slowly opened. A tall and burly man in a white suit got out of the car. Jin Bin. I didn't expect him to come in person. It seems that this batch of goods is really important to him. Seeing the man, Hawkeye Button's words came from the headset immediately. Jin Bin, the behind-the-scenes emperor of the New York underworld. According to intelligence, he still maintains the habit of exercising after becoming the emperor. I will fight against a group of top fighters from all over the world every day. And, it's a pair of 10. Speaking of this, Barton paused for a few seconds. Then, Kai continued with a dry voice, the time for each sparring never exceeds 20 seconds. And, his opponents are either dead or injured. The government sent in more than a dozen undercover agents, and only one is still alive. Finally, Barton said to Chen Yun in a solemn tone, don't try to fight him one-on-one. If it's true, I'm no match for him. After silently listening to Barton's introduction, Chen Yun's heart sank. It seems that this task is a bit tricky. I can't see what they are moving. Looking at Jin Bing in the distance carrying things into the convoy, Patton said distressed-edly, if it wasn't for that batch of munitions, there would be no reason for a shield to take action. My eyesight is good, wait a minute. While speaking, Chen Yun activated his Sharingan. A touch of red gradually filled his eye sockets. In the line of sight, the world that was operating normally also slowed down in a trance. Squinting his eyes, Chen Yun moved his gaze to the pier. The originally blurry picture gradually became clear. What the hell? Stark Group. Looking at the logo on the box, Chen Yun couldn't help but blurt it out. And this sentence also made Barton and Matt dumbfounded. How could the Stark Group be involved? Barton cursed secretly, and then explained to Chen Yun quickly, Stark's current controller is Tony Stark. Although this man is a famous playboy, he also does a lot of charity. What's even more troublesome is that the ammunition produced by their company is for the army. So the Stark Group has a very good relationship with the military and the government. At the end, Barton couldn't help scolding, "Fuck, why did they appear here?" And also became the supplier of Jin Bing, the underworld emperor. There must be something tricky in here. While speaking, Barton took out his communicator, wanting to quickly report this information to Nick Fury. In the current situation, only Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., can make a decision. But what made Patton vigilant was that the satellite directly connected communicator would have no signal at this time. Something wrong. Boom. As soon as Barton's words came out, the RPG shot up from the direction of the pier. The rockets that emitted fiery flames from their tails accurately hit the rock where Barton was hiding. Accompanied by a violent explosion, the huge flame lit up the entire pier in an instant. We've been found. Just when Chen Yun was worried about Patton's state, Patton's distraught voice came from the headset. Then Chen Yun saw Barton leaping out of the smoke and dust produced by the explosion. While the man was still in the air, Barton drew the bow and arrow behind his back. The action of bowing and shooting arrows is like flowing clouds and flowing water, so fast that people can only see the afterimage of him drawing the bow. An arrow shot across the night sky like a shooting star, heading straight for Jin Bin. Your opponent is me. The arrow was still flying, and a gloomy voice suddenly came from the shadows. With a gunshot, the arrow was directly cut off in midair. A man covered in black tights appeared on the only way to the pier. He has evil eyes, a gun in one hand and a dagger in the other. What is even more eye-catching is that on his forehead, there is a mark of a bull's eye. Blowing out the smoke from the muzzle, the man grinned and said, "Shield. Hawkeye Patton." Excitement. "Let me teach you a lesson. He's Bullseye. Be careful." Barton immediately recognized the identity of the man who shot down his arrow. Thinking about the loss of signal from the communicator just now, Barton immediately understood the truth of the matter. The other side must have spotted them a long time ago. Barton's face changed, and while rushing towards the bullseye, he immediately shouted, "They blocked the signal. Hurry up and get out, and then contact the headquarters." "Can't go." Looking down from the sky, Chen Yun felt something was wrong. Jin Bing's subordinates had already surrounded them, and their retreat had already been completely blocked. Even him in the sky suddenly had countless red spots on his body. Glancing at Barton who was shooting at Bullseye, Chen Yun suddenly jumped from the sky tens of meters high. The gunman aiming at Chen Yun also lost his track in an instant. This suicide-like behavior immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. But Chen Yun didn't feel the slightest turmoil in his heart. When he opened Sharingan, everything seemed to be slowed down countless times. Every 5 meters, he will use to summon a door. The moment you grab the door with your hand, it acts as a speed buffer to slow down your body's fall. On the empty pier, Chen Yun was falling rapidly. At this moment, the windbreaker was blown up by the gust of wind generated by the fall. Chen Yun is like a black eagle that roars down at its prey. When Chen Yun fell down like lightning, the person standing face to face with him was Jin Bing with a grin on his face. "Your ability is very good." He tore off the white suit on his body, revealing the muscles all over his body. "But it's a pity that you provoked the worst person in the audience." Chen Yun, who fell from the sky, made Jin Bing, who loves fighting, excited. At this moment, the muscles with a gold content of 90.00% seemed to be trembling. "Boy, you are dead." Boom. Facing Jin Bing's powerful attack, Chen Yun didn't dare to take it hard at all, and could only rely on his god-level perception to keep dodging. As he ran, he threw smoke bombs on the ground one after another. Hiding in the smoke, Chen Yun immediately threw a few bad darts in Jin Bing's direction. Such an attack is disappointing. Easily dodging the dart attack, Jin Bing roared with a ferocious expression, "Hurry up. Have a quick fight with me." Although his strength and speed were not as good as his own, Chen Yun was able to dodge his own attack every time. The slippery Chen Yun gradually angered Jin Bing. Jin Bin let out a roar, and the muscles all over his body swelled instantly. The originally burly figure has also become taller and mightier. Facing Jin Bin's changes, Chen Yun's god-level perception was frantically sounding the alarm. A strong sense of crisis lingered in Chen Yun's heart. Before Chen Yun could react, Jin Bin, who had greatly increased his strength and speed, rushed forward. The huge fist was wrapped in a burst of fist wind, and it hit Chen Yun's face. The speed was so fast that there was no way to avoid it, as if Chen Yun's face could be smashed into meat paste in the blink of an eye. Facing this earth-shattering punch, Chen Yun felt an irresistible feeling from the bottom of his heart. The next moment, at this juncture of life and death, Chen Yun's eyes turned red in an instant, and Sharingan was also activated to the extreme. A hook jade suddenly appeared in the eyes, and it spun rapidly. Everything around seemed to be slowed down dozens of times. In this state, Chen Yun's heart also calmed down in an instant. He saw Jin Bing's ferocious face. "I saw the huge fist that was approaching me." He even had the strength to observe Jin and the sweat slowly streaming down his face. This is the true power of Sharingan. Looking at the desperate scene in front of him, Chen Yun suddenly laughed. Extraordinary ability, Luo Shang arbitrary door. Next second, Jin Bin's fist collided with a steel door that suddenly appeared in front of him. Bang! Jin Bing's huge body flew upside down like a broken sack. Withdrawing the summoned steel gate casually, Chen Yun's body speeded up abruptly. With his thighs bent to accumulate energy, Chen Yun's knees slammed down on the head of the unbalanced Jin Bing. What? With a scream, the blood on Jin Bing's face gushed out in an instant. Struggling to get up, he spat out the foreign object in his mouth in embarrassment. Jin Bing was shocked to find that half of his teeth had been shot down by Chen Yun. Asshole, you are teasing me. The big mouth that was still gushing blood opened, and Jin let out a roar. Jin Bin, who thought that Chen Yun was teasing him with his supernatural power, went completely crazy. A pair of iron fists were creaked by him, and all the muscles in his body seemed to be shaking. Jin Bin burst into anger, and rushed towards Chen Yun aggressively. You're courting death. Looking at Jin Bin who was rushing towards him, Chen Yun did not continue to escape. Instead, he drew out his hidden sword with a calm face, and looked at Jin Bin who was rushing forward without fear. Calmly wait until the moment when Jin Bing speaks and takes a breath. Ability, Silence Technique. With the activation of the ability, Jin Bing seemed to be choked by someone, and the breath held in his chest could not be released at all. The aggressive fist unconsciously slowed down. Effortlessly dodging Jin Bing's limp fist, Chen Yun raised his sword sharply upwards. PFF'd. The tip of the sword directly pierced the palm of Jin Bin's hand, and then continued to move forward. When he clenched his palm tightly to stop it, it stabbed hard into Jin Bin's shoulder. The sharp long sword pierced Jin Bing's shoulder without hindrance. With a flick of the sword, the entire huge arm rose into the air under Jin Bing's painful eyes. Boss. Seeing that Jin Bing's shoulder was cut off, the faces of the onlookers showed mixed expressions of shock and anger. They no longer obeyed Jin's order not to intervene, raised their guns one after another, and pulled the trigger desperately at Chen Yun. Facing these attacks, a tempered glass door appeared in front of Chen Yun. The bullet hit it without even showing any traces. Not only that, Chen Yun also took advantage of the gap and kept throwing bat darts to fight back. One gunman after another kept falling in front of him. Fake. After the 10-second silence time passed, Jin Bin, who had been lying on the ground, quickly got up from the ground. Looking at Chen Yun who smiled coldly at him, he quickly picked up his dark golden crutch from the ground. Aim at Chen Yun and press the button, and a black smoke rushes towards Chen Yun. Taking advantage of the smog, Jin Bing's figure also disappeared before Chen Yun's eyes. Just as Chen Yun wanted to continue the pursuit, he got a hint of extreme danger from the god-level perception. The black mist is poisonous. Realizing this, Chen Yun hurriedly left the range of the black mist. But after only a short while, Jin Bing had already taken advantage of the chaos and fled. Scanning the scene, Chen Yun found that Barton and Kate were fighting fiercely in the distance. All the gunmen around have also run away. Quickly ran towards the place where the fierce battle was taking place, and walked halfway. Chen Yun found Matt who was fighting with his hands on his stomach. Judging by his appearance, he seemed to have been shot in the stomach. Chen Yun's eyes were fixed, and he rushed to support Matt without hesitation. Chen Yun, who has the blessing of Sharingan and god-level perception, has nothing to do with guns and other weapons. Moving through the hail of bullets nimbly, Chen Yun kept throwing bat darts from his hands while dodging the bullets. The huge gap in strength made it easy for Chen Yun to eliminate all the gunmen. After destroying all the enemies, Chen Yun quickly looked at Kate who was clutching her stomach. How's it going? Coming to Kate's side, Chen Yun asked with concern. No problem, I can't die yet. Panting heavily, Kate said in a low tone, Jin Bing's subordinates are really powerful. Thinking that Jin Bin, whom she had been arresting all along, was easily injured by his men without even seeing anyone, Kate felt a little downcast. Not long after, Barton also came back with a limp. In his left hand, he still held Bullseye, which was covered in injuries all over his body. Where's Jin Bin? Seeing Chen Yun, Barton breathed a sigh of relief. In the situation just now, he, a senior agent, was too busy to take care of himself, and there was no time to take care of Chen Yun. Seeing Chen Yun unscathed now, he couldn't help but rejoice and said, fortunately, Jin didn't attack us. Otherwise we might die here today. No, he's always been here. But I beat you away. As soon as Chen Yun spoke, he saw Barton and Matt looking at him with bewildered eyes. Even Bullseye on the ground struggled to raise his head, with an unbelievable look on his face. He had an arm cut off by me. Well, it should still be there at the pier. What Chen Yun said directly stunned the people present. The opponent they regarded as incapable was actually defeated by this young man, Chen Yun. Not only that, but even cut off one of Jin Bing's arms. How can that be? Daredevil Matt murmured in shock. In Hell's Kitchen, Jin Bin's name is like a taboo. Although he will capture Jin is his primary goal. But Matt has always had a clear understanding of Jin Bin's strength, and now he is no match for Jin Bin at all. But now, there is a young man who claims to win and defeat Jin, which completely subverts his three views. If Chen Yun hadn't said this himself, Matt would never have believed it. Shocked, he suddenly felt that the wound on his body didn't hurt anymore. Fool, what nonsense are you talking about? How could the boss be defeated by you? Bullseye lying on the ground fixed his eyes on Chen Yun, and shouted with embarrassment, Jin Bin is the strongest. You are lying. Bullseye struggled desperately. He didn't believe Chen Yun's words at all. For him, it was impossible for the invincible Jin to fail. Compared to the shocked two, Hawkeye Button was the calmest among them. Patton, who is also an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Chen Yun, naturally knows something they don't. For example, how weird is Chen Yun's ability? He didn't have any rebuttal to Chen Yun's words. As a seasoned agent, sometimes he prefers to believe the truth. Silently walked to the pier, and after a while, Barton came back dragging a bloody arm. You actually defeated Jin Bing. Looking at the ring on his arm that belonged exclusively to Jin Bing, even though he had already prepared in his heart, Barton was still very surprised. You know, even he is not Jin Bin's opponent in a one-on-one situation. I used a little trick. Jin Bin is still very strong. After defeating Jin Bing, Chen Yun was not complacent, and still kept his heart. Because he knew that in terms of hard power, he was actually no match for Jin Bing. If it wasn't for the sudden outbreak of Sharingan, it is very likely that Jin Bin is not the one who is running away now. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. only look at the results, not the process. Barton smiled and praised, means is also a kind of strength. After speaking, Barton took out the communicator whose signal had been restored. It should be that there is something wrong with Jin Bin's car, and it is very likely that a jammer is installed on it. After contacting Nick Fury, Barton quickly explained what had happened. Soon, S.H.I.E.L.D. convoys arrived at the scene one after another. Treat the injured Daredevil and Hawkeye first, and then blockade the entire area and see. With the world's top technological support, S.H.I.E.L.D. quickly launched a thunderous operation. Except for Jin Bin who escaped through a special channel, many of his men were quickly captured. Even the delivery yacht that took advantage of the chaos and fled to the Atlantic Ocean was intercepted by S.H.I.E.L.D. Wow, that's Batman. When everything was packed, Nick Fury appeared on the scene with a smile on his face. Patting Chen Yun on the shoulder, Nick Fury said with a smile, this task is really well done. Really, I regret it. I knew I should have doubled the bonus. Chen Yun replied depressedly that Jin Bing, who appeared unexpectedly, was the most difficult enemy he had ever encountered. Who would have thought Kim would be here? After a few dry laughs, Nick Fury was about to continue explaining when he saw Chen Yun leave without looking back. What are you going to do? Bath. Staring at Chen Yun's back, Nick Fury sighed. Looking at the gangster corpses around him, he couldn't help feeling a little more worried. Is Chen Yun's murderous intention too serious? Facing gangsters, he's not easy to deal with. Are you asking me? Glancing at Nick Fury suspiciously, Barton sighed leisurely, these people want our lives. If I have such a strong ability, maybe I can kill more than him. As expected of an organization of local tyrants, there is such a caravan. Wiping his wet hair, Chen Yun stepped out of the luxury car in a refreshed manner. But soon, his sight was attracted by the bullseye on the treatment vehicle. Such a person, why don't you kill him? Should we keep him for the new year? Chen Yun asked suspiciously what was on his mind, in his opinion. For such fools, hell is their final destination. We must find some work for the people in the prison. Hearing Chen Yun's doubts, Nick Fury quickly explained, besides, he is still Jin Bing's confidant. Keep him, we can get more information. Okay, remember to cash your bonus early. Chen Yun shrugged indifferently, left a word, and went to check on Daredevil Matt's treatment. At this time, a limited edition Lamborghini arrived at the pier from far to near. Accompanied by the huge roar of the engine, Lamborghini swung its tail handsomely and stopped steadily. The door opened, and a man wearing sunglasses stepped out of the car. At the same time, he was still muttering, "Is there a beautiful woman here? Is there any wine?" Looking at the chaotic scene surrounded by corpses, the man said to Nick Fury, dissatisfied. "Did you S.H.I.E.L.D. throw a party here?" "Nick, I need an explanation." "You're in trouble, Tony." Walking in front of the man, Nick Fury said with a grim expression, "Explain." "Mazefakel. Why did your company's products appear in Jin Bin's hands?" "Our company's products?" Taking off his sunglasses in surprise, Tony frowned. Follow Nick Fury to the box intercepted by S.H.I.E.L.D. There are things that are enough to surprise him. Sidewinder missile, and it's the latest model. Patting the box, Nick Fury threatened with a half smile, "I remember. This batch of equipment is not even equipped by the military. You should ask our company's salesman about this." Seeing his latest weapon appear on this deserted pier, Tony opened his mouth. It seemed that he wanted to say something, but he finally closed his mouth. He did not choose to answer Nick Fury's words directly. In the face of Tony's lack of cooperation, Nick Fury did not continue to press. No matter how upset he was, he stood in front of him. It is still the largest weapon manufacturer and developer in the beautiful country. Even if he is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., he doesn't dare to provoke this famous playboy easily. "Tony Stark, your account has received a transfer of $200 million. On the other side, Chen Yun looked left and right, and the phone finally received a text message. Looking at the extra $200 million from Carrie, Chen Yun was overjoyed. Although the mission this time was full of dangers, Chen Yun felt that everything was worth the $200 million. With this money, houses and cars, you can get whatever you want. There is no need to break a penny into 8 petals like before. I'm Tony Stark, I heard you found these weapons." Just as Chen Yun was happily holding his mobile phone to check his balance, a voice suddenly sounded behind him. "Yes, I found it. Tony Stark." Looking at this future Iron Man, Chen Yun has no intention of hiding. "It's not that I don't believe it, it's just that I heard." The immature Chen Yun made Tony's eyes full of suspicion. Jin Bing also appeared here. "That's right, but he ran away." "Wow." Tony smiled, turned his head and teased Nick Fury, "Is your S.H.I.E.L.D. going to get involved in talk shows recently?" "What?" Boom. With a sound, before Tony finished speaking, a thick arm appeared on the ground in front of him. "You can inspect the goods." Nick Fury raised his eyebrows, pointed to his arm on the ground and sneered, "If you still don't believe me, we can even do DNA." Looking at the bloody arm, Tony was dumbfounded. There was an inconceivable expression on his face. He looked at Chen Yun in surprise, and murmured, "What is the origin of this kid?" "Batman." Chen Yun. Seeing the high-spirited Tony suddenly back down, Nick Fury felt very comfortable, and couldn't help but scream. At the same time, he is also the superpower consultant of our S.H.I.E.L.D. "Superpower? You actually have superpowers?" Tony nodded, but there was still some disbelief on his face. "What superpower do you have? Can you defeat Jin Bin?" "I can make people shut up." Glancing at Tony Stark, who kept questioning himself, Chen Yun was upset. He doesn't care if this is the future Iron Man, since he doubts himself. Let the facts speak for themselves. After giving Tony a cold look, Chen Yun left the two of them. Care of. Tony, who didn't know why, just wanted to call Chen Yun to stop, when he was surprised to find that he was speechless. His throat seemed to be tightly grasped by a pair of invisible hands, and he was not only unable to speak. Even breathing was affected. Tony's heart was full of panic, and he struggled desperately, but it didn't help at all. "Don't go. How can this be resolved?" Such a scene made Tony break out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, the duration of the silence technique is only 10 seconds. Not long after, Tony finally regained the ability to speak. How on earth did he do it? Looking at Chen Yun's back with lingering fear, Tony murmured. But soon, he reacted. Strong enough to defeat Jin Bing, with mysterious abilities. Chen Yun's strength immediately caught Tony's attention. If he could invite Chen Yun to be his bodyguard, his safety would be fully guaranteed. Squinting his eyes slightly, Tony asked salivatingly, "Can you let Chen Yun work in the Stark Group? I'll give him an annual salary of millions." "Stop dreaming. Chen Yun is the trump card of our S.H.I.E.L.D. Looking around, Nick Fury whispered guiltily, and Chen Yun has justice in his heart. He's not a money-seeking person. Want to buy him with money. HMPH. After saying this, Nick Fury glanced at Tony, and said with disgust on his face, since you already know what happened, go back and investigate. Frowning and thinking for a while, Tony decided to go back to the company to deal with the leak of the latest weapons. As for Chen Yun, let's talk about it later when we meet. Watching Tony drive away in the Lamborghini, Nick Fury wiped the sweat from his forehead. $100 million. I'm Zephaker. So much money. Chen Yun will definitely leave S.H.I.E.L.D. Touching his chin, Nick Fury's mental activity was intense, these upstarts. Cursing, Nick Fury turned on the communicator with a face full of pain, send Chen Yun another $200 million. After a pause, he lowered his voice and added a sentence, get the account on these weapons. Not long after the money was called, Nick Fury received a call from Chen Yun. How did I receive another $200 million? Is it a mistake? The cunning Nick Fury paused for a few seconds before smiling and saying, this is an extra reward for you. Our S.H.I.E.L.D. has always been serious about talents. Money is only one aspect. Chen Yun responded with a half-understanding, then what else? Isn't money the most important thing? I don't know what else. Nick Fury's head is full of question marks, shouldn't normal people thank themselves first? Chen Yun's directness, even Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., couldn't answer. Cough cough. After clearing his throat in embarrassment, Nick Fury continued, in addition to money, there are special rewards. You have been promoted. Now you have become a registered 7th-level agent. By the way, seeing that Chen Yun didn't respond, Nick Fury could only bite the bullet and continue, you have to be careful of Tony Stark. His group actually got involved in Jin Bing's arms trade. If you see him again in the future, don't trust him easily. Okay. After hearing that there were no other rewards, Chen Yun coughed and replied, since the extra $200 million is a reward, then I will accept it. After finishing speaking, Chen Yun hung up the phone, leaving Nick Fury alone in the wind. Mazefakel. Nick Fury was so numb, he told Chen Yun so much, but the $200 million didn't work. But there was nothing he could do. Chen Yun's excellence would sooner or later be known to others. Stealing things like Tony Stark will definitely happen in the future. Thinking of this, Nick Fury's scalp tingled, touched the blindfold, and he took out the communicator again. Another $500 million will be withdrawn from the funds in the gold and arms. Well, put it in my private account first. Boss, the total is only $1,000 million. On the other end of the phone, an embarrassing voice came out, it's all $900 million. Mazefakel. Although there are $400 million lying in the mobile phone, Chen Yun still adheres to the principle of saving what can be saved. Rubbed a S.H.I.E.L.D. car and returned to the rental house. Where are your magical equipment? As soon as he entered the door, Zhao Shiren rushed over and circled around Chen Yun. Tisk tut in his mouth, did it get smashed by Jin Bing? How do you know? Chen Yun looked at Zhao Shiren in astonishment, it's just dirty, and was taken back by colleagues from S.H.I.E.L.D. According to Nick Fury, it seems that there is a free upgrade. HMPH. Nonsense. Zhao Shiren raised her mouth and said dissatisfiedly, I heard it from the monitor. You have met Jin Bing. If you want me to say, you should not take risks in the future. Zhao Shiren looked at Chen Yun worriedly, and said with reddened eyes, it's really too dangerous. Don't worry, I'm fine. Touching Zhao Shiren's smooth long hair, Chen Yun smiled and said, besides, don't you know my skills? Even Jin Bing is defeated by me. Zhao Shiren shook his head, his eyes were full of concern, I didn't mean that. I also know that you are very powerful. But in case you meet someone who is stronger than you, don't worry, I will get stronger and stronger. Seeing the worried look of the girl, Chen Yun felt warm in his heart. Don't you like mapo tofu? Do it again today. I want to eat fried pork. It is good. After eating, I looked at the time, and it was still a long time before 12 o'clock. Chen Yun was going to play a game for a while. Since getting the system, he has been used to getting new abilities on time at 12 o'clock every night. As for going to bed early and getting up early, non-existent. After opening the offline city and warriors, Chen Yun skillfully entered his role. There's a new gift bag. As soon as he entered the game screen, an advertisement page popped up in the game. And the sword with only a hilt on the page immediately attracted Chen Yun's attention. It's only 15 yuan. It's over. As his favorite game before time travel, it is still Chen Yun's favorite game after time travel. It's just that he was impoverished before, but he has always been a steadfast prostitute player. Now that I have money, I naturally want to support it. Accompanied by a burst of golden light, the gift bag was opened. A weapon emitting dazzling golden light appeared in front of Chen Yun's eyes. I actually got it. Is this a single draw miracle? Although it was hard to believe, the shadowless sword Eleanor lying in the backpack still made Chen Yun ecstatic. As the strongest weapon in version 60, it has always been Chen Yun's dream. Putting the weapon on happily, Chen Yun couldn't mention how beautiful it was. But just when he was happy, the chat channel that kept swiping the screen attracted his attention. Dog plan, refund money. It's only a 7-day trial period, RNM will refund the money. Planner Sima, come out and get beaten. Seeing these chat messages, Chen Yun felt a little bad in his heart. Trembling, he moved the mouse to his weapon, sure enough. At the bottom of the introduction screen, there was a 7-day trial period. The dog plans to refund the money. Thinking of the first time in his life to recharge, Chen Yun felt a pain in his liver. And what's even worse is that there are still people in the chat channel showing off their luck. Haha, you are all so weak. I just got permanent. I got it too, non-chiefs, are you envious? Looking at these ugly faces, Chen Yun only felt envious and jealous. Hey, bad luck. Sighing, Chen Yun silently clicked report, and stopped paying attention to the chat channel. But no matter how bad it was, Chen Yun obtained the right to use the shadowless sword. As soon as you stop at the team formation site where you brush the pictures, various team formation invitations follow one after another. While Chen Yun refused, he continued to stand where he was. Not for anything else, just to show off. I spent 15 yuan, so I have to let everyone take a look. Who is a local tyrant? After pointing boringly for a while and refusing, Chen Yun felt bored again. The sense of accomplishment obtained by forming a team gradually faded away. Unfortunately, my skills are too good, otherwise I would have gone to the PK field. Shaking his head, Chen Yun hid the game in the background. After proficiently finding the live broadcast room of Baby Rising Sun, Chen Yun watched the live broadcast. Probably because of time traveling, the current Baby Rising Sun is still a small anchor who broadcasts live on YY. You are hot, he. Make sure. Next, as soon as he entered the live broadcast room, Baby Rising Sun's iconic magical laughter came from the speakers. At this time, Baby Rising Sun is in the PK arena to PK with netizens. Coincidentally, Baby Rising Sun has won 8 consecutive victories. The faces on the live broadcast screen also became arrogant. Who else? It's 8 consecutive victories. Brothers. That's it, I'm not serious yet. Baby Rising Sun's arrogance aroused ridicule in the live broadcast room. But the sarcasm is sarcasm, and I don't know what kind of medicine the big horse monkey Baby Zuri took today. Playing the game was fierce, and all the netizens who could play in the live broadcast room were defeated one after another. For a while, all the water friends had nothing to do with the arrogant Baby Rising Sun. What is my identity, Aang? Seeing that the water friends had lost their voices, Baby Rising Sun became even more energetic, and he kept provocatively saying, "What are your usual skills? Is there no one left?" Seeing that no one dared to come up, Baby Rising Sun continued to taunt, "All masters are lonely. How about this? 1 million gold coins. Who dares to come?" Looking at the arrogant Baby Rising Sun, Chen Yun couldn't help getting angry. Are we here to learn technology? We're here to see the monkeys. I didn't expect to be tricked by a monkey today. Seeing this, Chen Yun also took a deep breath. By the way, Sharingan. I have a plugin. Thinking of his own abilities, Chen Yun's eyes lit up immediately. He immediately initiated a dual application with Baby Rising Sun. Hey, someone really dares to come. Casually clicking the button to accept the challenge, Baby Rising Sun chose to continue saying, "Don't believe in evil. See how I let you go." Hearing Baby Rising Sun's words, Chen Yun just smiled and didn't take it seriously at all. The backhand turned on Sharingan, and the whole game suddenly turned into slow motion. And Baby Rising Sun's expression also changed from being arrogant at the beginning to being depressed at the end. All set, you monkey. Looking at the scene of failure, the smile on Baby Juri's face has long since disappeared. This game doesn't count. Your weapon is great. Seeing that Baby Rising Sun didn't believe in evil, Chen Yun took off his weapon with a blank expression, and replaced it with a whiteboard bought in a store. Oh, I'm going. Young man, your road is narrow. Let you meet me today. Seeing Chen Yun put on whiteboard equipment, Baby Rising Sun laughed inwardly. But his expression became serious, and the keyboard was crackled by him. But no matter what, he couldn't beat Chen Yun, who had a physical cheat. From the beginning of the PK, Baby Rising Sun never fell from the sky, and was directly taken away by a set. You can win, but you don't have to. The internet is not good today. If you have the ability, do it again tomorrow. After speaking bluntly, Baby Rising Sun quickly transferred 200 million game coins to Chen Yun. In the blink of an eye, it was broadcast at the speed of light. Looking at the screen that suddenly went black, the audience exploded. Strong brother, the live broadcast room has been knocked down. I'm dying of laughter. I can't fight, but I can run. Looking at the laughter in the live broadcast room with a black screen, Chen Yun was also amused. Stretched comfortably, turned off Sharingan. Only then did Chen Yun notice that the time had passed 12 o'clock. Sign in. Ding. Sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host for getting today's ability. The favor of the goddess of luck. The favor of the goddess of luck. Looking at the name of the ability, Chen Yun fell into deep thought. The action that was about to shut down the computer also stopped. After thinking about it, he manipulated the ghost swordsman in the game to enter the copy of the other world. How about luck? Why don't you take a picture and try? With this in mind, Chen Yun randomly entered a game map, and then he was stunned. One knife 999. Am I entering the wrong game? From the very beginning, Chen Yun felt a huge change. A character whose crit rate wasn't high originally had the effect of a knife crit. The big characters critically floating above the heads of the mobs and the game experience of cutting wheat simply made Chen Yun feel refreshed. But this was just the beginning, and then a more exciting scene happened. Crazy, is this the equipment that mobs should explode? Before reaching the boss room, Chen Yun already had 2 pieces of pink equipment in his bag. The mobs exploded in powder outfits, or 2 in a row. This is no longer a small probability event, it can be called the European Emperor among the European Emperors. I'm afraid I'm playing a game with Yangshuo. Sensing that it was a bit outrageous, Chen Yun silently entered the boss room, and continued to attack unreasonably. In the past, the boss who had to grind for a few minutes didn't even release a signature skill, so he let out a mournful cry and fell under Chen Yun's sword. A dazzling golden light flashed. 2 pieces of pink equipment lay quietly on the ground. Slaughtering blade. Demon sword Apophis. Oh my god. Staring blankly at the 2 weapons that every ghost swordsman dreams of owning, Chen Yun fell into deep thought. Hey, can't it be a bug? This heaven-defying luck caused Chen Yun to fall into ecstasy in an instant. Without stopping, he hurriedly continued to brush up the pictures. In just a few 10 minutes, the equipment bar of the controlling character is already full. This is too cool. Looking at the pink equipment in the equipment column, Chen Yun didn't know what to say. In just a few 10 minutes, he not only assembled a full set of graduation equipment for his profession. Even weapons are enough for him to graduate from all professions. Throwing the extra weapons and equipment into the warehouse, Chen Yun controlled the character and came in front of Kylie wearing dazzling equipment. In the game of Lost City and Warriors, if you want to strengthen your equipment, everyone needs to find this beauty. Put the equipment into the reinforcement machine, and then put in the materials and gold coins. Chen Yun took a deep breath, and clicked the mouse continuously. He never considered that the equipment would disappear after the enhancement failed. The same equipment, there are 5 or 6 more in the warehouse. Big deal, go to brush another 10 minutes of pictures. Strengthen +1 slaughter blade succeeded. Strengthen +2 slaughter blade succeeded. Strengthen +3 slaughter blade succeeded. Strengthen +1 5 slaughter blade succeeded. After the gold coins were exhausted, the original dark purple weapon had turned into a dazzling pink. Excitedly looking at the dazzlingly radiant weapon, Chen Yun was in a good mood. Invincible. Just as Chen Yun wanted to go to the PK arena to chatter away, the game screen suddenly stopped. Internet connection interrupted. I'm going, why are you still disconnected? After making complaints, Chen Yun wanted to log into the game again. But what made him dumbfounded was that an interface suddenly appeared in the center of the game screen. Dear player, due to your use of illegal software in the game, this account will be permanently suspended. Looking at these words, Chen Yun was stunned. Is Tongshuan's TP detection so powerful? It can be detected. That's not right, I'm using a supernatural ability. Sensing something was wrong, Chen Yun quickly opened the webpage, preparing to appeal for unblocking the account. What made him collapse was that after all the procedures were completed, the displayed result turned out to be a manual ban. This also means that there is no room for unblocking your own account. Seeing this result, Chen Yun was about to explode with anger. He didn't care that it was already 2 o'clock in the morning, so he ran directly to Zhao Shiren's door, and there was a knock on the door. If there is no explanation, I will call the police. Yawning and opening the door, Zhao Shiren looked sleepily at Chen Yun standing at the door, frowned and asked, "What's going on? It's midnight, why don't people rest?" Before Zhao Shiren finished speaking, Chen Yun asked eagerly, "Can you help me hack the official website of a game?" Black what? Zhao Shiren was stunned for a few seconds, but reacted immediately. Looking at himself in cool clothes, the thin silk pajamas couldn't hide his uneven figure at all under the dim light. The breeze blew lightly against the body, and the smear of snow on the chest was faintly visible. That's it. Zhao Shiren was speechless, thinking that Chen Yun had figured it out knocking on his door in the middle of the night, but he never expected that it was because of such an outrageous thing. She kicked Chen Yun out mercilessly, and then slammed the door shut. Only Chen Yun was left standing outside the door, touching his buttocks and wanting to cry. Take a step back, and endure for a while. But I can't take it anymore. Early the next morning, Chen Yun, who hadn't slept all night, opened a pair of bloodshot eyes. Thinking that he was ruthlessly banned with the top-level equipment without any experience, Chen Yun was furious. I'm Chen Yun, a 7th-level agent. Hello. I need a Quinjet. After hanging up the shield communicator, Chen Yun put on his combat uniform expressionlessly. In less than 10 minutes, a Kun-style fighter plane with roaring engines arrived at Chen Yun's residence. Dragon Kingdom, Tencent Building. After handing over an address to the agent in charge of flying the plane, Chen Yun closed his eyes. The fighter plane drew a graceful arc in the air and flew towards the target direction at high speed. Thanks to the powerful performance of the Kun-type fighter, the fighter soon arrived at the sky above Tencent headquarters. Wait for me. After explaining a word, Chen Yun jumped down from the sky with a cold smile. Relying on his god-level perception, he quickly found out Ma Wadong's office. This hero. Spare me. Facing Chen Yun, Ma Wadong had no ability to resist at all. Unarmed, he was soon hung upside down from the ceiling. For Chen Yun, a vicious uninvited guest, all he could do was beg for mercy. Why blocked my account? If there is no explanation, I will tear down your company. What account? I don't know. Ma Wadong wants to cry but has no tears. Usually his company just pirates a game and makes some bad money. Why did you suddenly provoke the evil star Chen Yun? After making a fuss at the Tencent headquarters, Ma Wadong learned what had happened with a face full of shock. When I learned that the cause of the incident was only because of a game account. Looking at the smashed office and the holed ceiling. Ma Wadong wants to cry but has no tears. Because of this matter is considered a big trouble. Report, a fighter plane without any formalities suddenly appeared in our territory. And carried out a series of illegal actions at Tencent headquarters. The head of the military region received the report. In this extraordinary world, as a big country, its strength should not be underestimated. Together with the beautiful country, they are known as the gods of the blue stars east and west. It's just a fighter plane, dispatch it immediately to control it. Yes, several planes took off quickly and arrived at the Tencent building. Several well-equipped agents appeared in Ma Wadong's office. After questioning Ma Wadong, these agents were dumbfounded. A game account. They didn't dare to deal with it by themselves, so they could only report to the higher authorities in a hurry. As a superpower, it is naturally one of the owners behind S.H.I.E.L.D. In fact, the authorities didn't pay much attention to Chen Yun's entering the airspace without permission. They only thought it was a temporary emergency task, and it was fine to have an explanation afterwards. But when they learned that Chen Yun had caused such a big incident just because of the game account, they were naturally angry. This kind of behavior must be severely punished. Inform the agent in charge of this matter, and immediately control Chen Yun. Roger that. The agent quickly received the order, and he looked at Chen Yun coldly. This agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., please come with us. Boom. Before the agent could take action, there was a deafening explosion nearby. Turning his head to look, a door of steel appeared beside him at some point. And on this door, there is still a choking thick fog. The agent quickly looked around, only to find that several people in black appeared on the two tall buildings not far away. Armed with all kinds of weapons, they have already faintly surrounded the entire Tongxun building. And the explosion just now was caused by the weapon on the opposite side. How could it be the Ten Rings gang? The agent looked at the opposite person in surprise. But what he didn't know was that this group of Ten Rings gang members were actually even more confused. This group of people originally gathered at the branch for a meeting. But I never expected that such a hidden den would be discovered by someone. Looking at the fighter planes outside, the members of the Ten Rings gang didn't want to catch them without a fight. Call me. With an order, several huge flames rose from the side of the Ten Rings gang. The missile with a blazing flame on its tail is heading straight for the Tencent building. Help. Extraordinary ability. Luo Shang arbitrary door. Amid Ma Wadong's cry for help, Chen Yun activated his ability calmly. A huge steel door suddenly appeared on the path that the missile must pass through. Boom, boom, single quote. After a violent shock, the gate of steel blocked all attacks. On one side, after speaking to several agents, Chen Yun summoned any door and walked through the roofs. The outbreak in the bustling area naturally attracted people's attention, and they all looked up. Why is there a Batman flying in the sky? Are you dazzled? I really have. Seeing Chen Yun rushing in and out among the members of the Ten Rings gang like a tiger joining a pack of wolves, the onlookers were shocked. Is this a movie? Is it real Batman? This is amazing. The people who eat melons took out their mobile phones and pointed at Chen Yun to take pictures. And when the video was transmitted online, Chen Yun was also exposed to the public eye. It's too fierce. Which studio is this? What set? This is a member of the Ten Rings gang. The one fighting him is the S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. Soon, the identities of Chen Yun and the Ten Rings gang were discovered. And the fact that Chen Yun was alone was immediately recognized. Batman turned out to be a celebrity. I'm going. Do we have our own superhero too? For a while, the news of someone among the superheroes quickly spread on the internet. Less than 10 minutes, Chen Yun wiped out all these trash-like terrorists. He even captured a man who seemed to be the leader alive. The head of the branch of the Ten Rings gang. When the agents figured out the man's identity, the whole thing went down. Suddenly appearing in fighter plane, the Ten Rings gang. In a split second, the agent conjured up a 1,000-word spy novel. So it's because I wanted to fight you just now, I'm really sorry. After sincerely apologizing to Chen Yun, the agent went to a corner and used the communicator to contact his boss. On the other side, Nick Fury, who was devastated by this incident, finally called Chen Yun. Chen Yun, Batman, what are you going to do? It's just a game, why do you want to go to the site? It's a sleeping dragon, even S.H.I.E.L.D. dare not provoke them. After quietly listening to Nick Fury's series of questioning, Chen Yun replied slowly, I just destroyed a den of the Ten Rings gang. No one. Ten Rings gang. Nick Fury is stupid. He has already figured out how to deal with the incident caused by Chen Yun. It is nothing more than losing money that should be lost, and dealing with it. Chen Yun was not willing to be criticized. Then you can only pay from the golden weapons seized last time, and then let the agent who flew the fighter take the blame. But what Nick Fury didn't expect was that the Ten Rings gang appeared out of nowhere. Cough. You handled this mission beautifully. As expected of an excellent agent of our S.H.I.E.L.D. After whispering a few words to Chen Yun, Nick Fury let out a long sigh of relief and said with a smile, You're lucky, you actually have a 10-ring gang to block your gun. My recent luck is really good. Chen Yun, who learned that he had caused trouble, was also secretly surprised. Even the authorities were alarmed by such a big incident. Originally, he was ready to accept the lesson, but he didn't expect his luck to be so good. In an instant, he passed the test with the help of the unlucky 10 commandments. Goddess of luck's favor is so terrifying. Hero, thank you for removing such a big hidden danger for us. Tencent. Lie on the glass and watched the whole process of Chen Yun showing his skills. Ma Wadong was numb all over. Facing the evil star Chen Yun, he knew very clearly that he was not able to contend against him at all. I have already unblocked your account. Moreover, the permissions have also been adjusted to the administrator account. From now on, you can rest assured to play. Ma Wadong smiled all over his face, and his tone was full of flattery. Pain news, create happiness with heart. A player like you is very welcome. Chapter 31. Tencent Games, create happiness with heart. At the press conference, Ma Wadong's face had long since lost the humble expression he had just faced Chen Yun. Instead, he announced his company's new game in high spirits. Heroes, especially superheroes, it is the strongest backing for us ordinary people. And every player who is in pain can also become a hero in the game. After speaking passionately, Ma Wadong lifted the red silk with a smile, revealing the name of the game. League of Legends. This is our newly developed game. Looking at the gathered reporters, Ma Wadong felt that he had reached the pinnacle of his life. Although frightened, Batman, the 10 Rings Gang, and Tencent Building. As soon as these key words came out, without Chen Yun showing his face, he was a well-deserved top class. What's more, their game happens to be a hero game. Excuse me, Mr. Ma, what do you think about being hung upside down in the office by Batman? President Ma, I heard that you were scared and cried before. While Mahua Tang was enjoying himself, this time taking advantage of Chen Yun's encouragement to bring the company to a higher level, the reporter below suddenly raised such a question. It's slander. It's slander. Batman is a very down-to-earth superhero. I had a friendly and cordial meeting with him. Mr. Chen, thanks to you this time. If it wasn't for you, there are so many 10 rings hidden in the city. That's what I should do. Now that the two sides have determined the matter, he went to Longguo alone to solve the 10 Commandments gang. Naturally, Chen Yun would not reveal his shortcomings. He accepted the apology from the Longguo agent with a smile. As for whether you believe it or not, anyway, I believe it myself. When I think that my account has been changed to an administrator account, not only will I never be banned again, but I can even ban others. Chen Yun felt itchy and could not stand it, wishing he could go back immediately. But not long after he boarded the Kun-style fighter, he suddenly received a call from Zhao Shiren. Chen Yun, where are you? Peter's uncle is dead. What? Upon hearing the news, Chen Yun hurried to Peter Parker's house just after getting off the plane. But as soon as he entered the door, he was still surprised by Peter's lifeless appearance. At this time, Peter was extremely decadent, his eyes were red and swollen, and he looked as if he had been crying for a long time. Aunt May, on the other hand, stared at the picture of Uncle Peter Ben blankly on the sofa, neither sad nor happy. Aunt May, my condolences and condolences. I'm fine, kid. We are old, and sooner or later we will meet God. Seeing Chen Yun, Aunt May sighed softly, I'm just worried about Peter now, he's been like this since last night. You are his best friend, I hope you can help him. Chen Yun also felt a little uncomfortable with Aunt May's forceful appearance. He nodded and walked to Peter's side. Don't be too sad, be strong. I think Uncle Ben definitely doesn't want to see you like you are now. Seeing that Peter was unmoved, Chen Yun pointed to Aunt May, and continued to persuade, Aunt May is the saddest one, not only to receive guests but also to worry about you. You know, you are the man who supports this family. And, the murderer will definitely be punished. Even if the police don't take action, superheroes won't sit idly by. Superhero. Hearing the words of the superhero, Peter finally reacted. Will a superhero take action against the bad guys? Yes. With great power comes great responsibility. Chen Yun paused, remembering the famous words in Spider-Man. You. Hearing these words, Peter looked at Chen Yun in astonishment. He suddenly remembered the words of Uncle Ben before he died. The best friend and the most respected elder actually said the same thing. Peter suddenly came to his senses. He stood up staggeringly, walked to Aunt May's side, and hugged her. Sorry for worrying you. Seeing Peter, who came to his senses, Chen Yun didn't stay long, but quietly walked out the door, leaving space for Peter and Aunt May. But the chill on his face is daunting. Chen Yun, who is usually stingy, has no plans to save money at this time. He stopped a taxi casually. Chen Yun paid twice the price, and returned to the rental house as quickly as possible. I need all the monitoring of where Uncle Ben happened. As soon as he got home, Chen Yun found Zhao Shiren. Zhao Shiren was also shocked by the expression on his face. She had never seen such an angry Chen Yun. Found it. But he has a mask on his face. After proficiently flipping through all the surveillance images, Zhao Shiren quickly found the person who killed Uncle Ben. But unfortunately, that person was wearing a mask and was very alert. After circling continuously, it quickly disappeared from the monitoring screen. Given a few more days, I can make up a program. Find the person by physical features and gestures. No need, just help me find his approximate range. Staring at the hooded person in the surveillance, Chen Yun showed a cruel smile on the corner of his mouth. He didn't care where the man went. As long as it is a criminal, he will fight to the end. Sooner or later, I will find you. After muttering to himself, Chen Yun went to take a bath and waited quietly for the dark. When the sky was swallowed by darkness, Chen Yun had already put on his combat uniform and was ready to set off. The black combat uniform perfectly blends Chen Yun's figure into the night. The last haunted location of that person is in Queens. Queens. After Zhao Shiren informed Chen Yun of the location, the criminals in the entire Queens district seemed to have ushered in the end. Criminals one after another were captured by Chen Yun. Before they could even see clearly, they were stunned by the elusive Chen Yun on the side of the road. Yes, there is a robber, who was handcuffed in. After calling the police at the public phone booth, Chen Yun ran to another location under Zhao Shiren's guidance. Galloping in the sky, Chen Yun felt that he was enjoying the thrill of catching criminals more and more. I won't become another Spider-Man, will I? Such an idea suddenly popped up in Chen Yun's mind. At this moment, Zhao Shiren's doubtful voice suddenly came out of the headset. There are police officers chasing a young man in a red tights. Strangely enough, he wasn't identified as a criminal. And he's fast, kind of like a superhero with great skills. A young man in red tights with strong skills. This description instantly formed a name in Chen Yun's mind. Spider-Man, red and blue tights, very skilled young man. After hearing these descriptions, Chen Yun was almost certain that this person was the future little spider. Peter Parker. But for the sake of caution, he asked Zhao Shiren to find out the location of this mysterious person. Just 2 blocks from you. He's about to enter the alley. After listening to Zhao Shiren's message through the headset, Chen Yun, who was on a high place, calmly looked at the street below. After a while, a person in red and blue tights appeared in his sight. Looking at the small but quick-moving man, Chen Yun's mouth curled into a smile. The body also disappeared into the night. I'm a superhero too. Why are the police chasing me? Fleeing into an alley in embarrassment, Peter Parker mumbled. Ever since he was bitten by that spider at the Osborn group, he's been different. The strength is getting stronger and stronger, the body has become lighter, the hearing and eyes are clear, the eyesight is amazing, and it also has magical perception. No matter how you look at it, he has become less human. Because of Chen Yun and Uncle Ben's words, tonight is the first time Peter has put on the red and blue tights. Peter, who has always admired Batman, now has the ability. He also hopes to be a hero like Batman. But the problem is, he doesn't have any experience. When dealing with a criminal, because he was accidentally seen by the police, he attracted the attention of the police. He was chased all the way, and finally escaped the pursuit of the police by relying on his agility. Just when Peter breathed a sigh of relief, his hair stood on end all of a sudden, and the spider responded frantically with warnings, and a dangerous aura struck instantly. Peter reflexively rolled to the side, but was grabbed by the shoulders in an instant, and then the whole person soared into the air, and was caught in the air. Peter struggled in panic, but found that he couldn't get away from the person who grabbed him. The man's reaction was too fast, and every struggle he had would be easily resolved by the man. Hey, why are you running? I won't hurt you. The visitor said in a relaxed voice, and at the same time let go of Peter's hand. Who are you? Peter, who had regained his freedom, heaved a sigh of relief, but he didn't dare to turn around and ask, "Do you know me?" "Well, can you call me Spider-Man?" Seeing that there was no response behind him, Peter continued to talk nonstop. "Ever since I saw Batman, I have always admired him. You know what? The superhero who fights crime in Queens. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you watch TV or not. But I have always taken him as a role model. I hope I can help justice like him." Listening to Peter talking to himself endlessly, Chen Yun was speechless. Although it has long been guessed that the person who wears the same clothes as Spider-Man is very likely to be Peter. But listening to the familiar voice and seeing this talkative performance, Chen Yun had already confirmed it in his heart. No need to take off the headgear, this is 100% Peter. "Stop talking, you'd better look back." After removing the voice changer, Chen Yun spoke in his own voice. "Oh, you're Batman. Oh my god, I actually met my idol. This is really cool. Oh my god, honestly, you sound like a friend of mine." Looking back, seeing Chen Yun wearing a full set of Batman equipment, Peter was so excited that he was shaking. He spoke tremblingly for a long time before realizing that this man's voice seemed very familiar. "You probably don't know who my friend is. Chen Yun, his name is Chen Yun. He's a really cool guy too." Peter wanted to continue talking, but soon he was dumbfounded because Chen Yun had already taken off his hood. "My god, you are Chen Yun." The dumbfounded Peter was stunned. He never imagined that the Batman in front of him became his good friend in the blink of an eye. Peter just wanted to ask Chen Yun if he was in cosplay, but immediately thought of the powerful strength Chen Yun showed just now. "Chen, you are actually Batman. It's really irritating." "Okay, stop talking." Unable to bear the nagging, Chen Yun covered Peter's mouth and explained, "As you can see, I am Batman." "Why are you here?" Me." Peter, who hadn't come out of his excitement, couldn't understand what he said. After working hard for a long time, he stumbled and said, "Since you said that day. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. I started thinking, now, I'm a superhero too." While speaking, Peter suddenly shot out a thread like a spider's silk from the middle of his right hand. The thin thread stuck to the balcony above his head, and with a light wave of his hand, Peter flew down to the bottom of the balcony along the spider web. Hanging upside down under the balcony, Peter's body swayed from side to side, but his expression was extremely excited. He said to Chen Yun, "Look, I also have the ability of a superhero. Can you shoot spider silk yourself?" Looking at Peter's spider thread, Chen Yun asked suspiciously. "No, this is a device I made myself." Showing something like a transmitter on his wrist, Peter said mysteriously, "You definitely won't know. I also have a hidden identity." "I know, Peter Parker. You actually know who I am." Startled, Peter almost fell off the balcony. He hurriedly controlled the balance of his body, grabbed his hood, and asked with a shocked expression, "How do you know it's me?" "You told me before." Seeing the spider silk launcher, Chen Yun had already determined in his mind which generation of Spider-Man was in front of him. Create silk with a silk shooter, it's amazing Spider-Man. Looking at Peter who was chattering all the time with a headache, Chen Yun secretly sighed in his heart, "It's the attribute of Chatterbox, why is it similar to the third generation Iron Spider-Man? Is it a combination of the second and third generation Spider-Man?" After thinking for a long time, Chen Yun finally gave up thinking. After all, in the Marvel universe of countless parallel universes, anything can happen. And Peter, who has come out of grief and recovered his previous personality. At least, the Peter in front of him was not in that kind of grief-stricken look, which made Chen Yun feel a little relieved. But, as his own friend, since Peter wants to be a superhero, "I've found out the whereabouts of Uncle Ben's murderer. He's the second street ahead." "You found the person who killed Uncle Ben?" Peter Parker looked at Chen Yun in surprise, with an unbelievable expression on his face. "Really?" Chen Yun nodded and said, "That's right, it's him." After a pause, Chen Yun continued, "I got a piece of news from the criminal I caught just now. Several faceless people hid in the nearby repair shop. And one of them, the clothes on his body are exactly the same as those who killed Uncle Ben. Can you take me there?" Peter immediately jumped down from the balcony and said excitedly, "Go now." On the other side, in an abandoned maintenance factory, several people were arguing fiercely. "Why did you shoot Just because you killed that old man, the police have been looking for us. I don't want to either. Facing his companion's accusations, Cook held his head in pain. That old man is really in the way. The police are coming, but he is still holding on to my clothes. I just want to scare him. Who knows that the gun went off? Thinking of Ben lying in a pool of blood, Cook's mood was extremely complicated. Okay, stop arguing. In the end, one of them made a decision. Let's leave here first, or I'm afraid we won't be able to leave when the police find us. Where do you want to go? While a few people were arguing, Chen Yun came out from the shadows. Batman. Seeing Chen Yun's attire, the robbers all had expressions of horror on their faces. They never expected to meet Batman at such a moment, and it seems that they should have heard their conversation. After all, as long as he is a criminal, he is very afraid of this Batman who goes around punishing evil and promoting good. Immediately, the robbers were stunned. They stared blankly at the sudden appearance of Batman, unable to move their stiff bodies for a long while. I'm not afraid of you. With Cook's terrified roar, gunshots rang out. A bullet pierced the air and shot towards Chen Yunfei. Chen Yun moved slightly, and the bullet flew past him without touching him in the slightest. Go to hell. Go to die. Cook yelled frantically, and kept pulling the trigger towards Chen Yun. But before the bullet was fired, the muzzle of his gun was blocked by a group of spider threads that suddenly appeared. With a bang, Cook's pistol exploded. Ignoring the great pain in his hand, he turned around and was about to run away. But just 2 steps away, he was stopped by Spider-Man Peter. Let me go. He stared at Spider-Man in horror, his legs trembling violently. Don't kill me. I beg you. I will surrender myself. The pitiful expression on Cook's face immediately stunned the kind-hearted Peter. He stood there bewildered, not knowing what to do. Hey, buddy, don't rush away. Chen Yun stood behind Cook with a smile, raised his right foot and stomped hard on Cook's back, pressing him back to his original position. Hey, Chen Yun's understated tone made Cook feel a wave of despair. After struggling to no avail, he could only kneel down on the ground. Please, please spare me. Cook begged with a sad face. How can he see that he wanted to kill someone just now? Give it to you. Kicking Cook in the stomach and kicking him to the corner like a dead dog, Chen Yun said to Peter in a deep voice, catch or kill. You need to make your own decision. After speaking, Chen Yun turned his attention to the others. He's the devil. Run. The few people who were stared at by Chen Yun's cold eyes were frightened instantly, and saw Yazzie ran outside. But how could Chen Yun let them go? A glass door appeared in front of the panicked people in an instant. Following a few bangs, one person fainted immediately, and the remaining 3 were also injured. Chen Yun knocked out the 3 injured people and tied them up. The police will be here in 10 minutes. Cook's life or death, you need to make your own decision. After leaving a word, Chen Yun left the scene. To be honest, he didn't want to influence Peter's judgment. If you want to be a real superhero, this is the path Peter had to walk on his own. As the matter resolved, as soon as he got back to the rental house, the gossip Zhao Shiren came over. Looking at her excited eyes, it is obvious that she is very interested in this matter. Maybe. Chen Yun nodded. I'll leave this matter to Peter to handle. Looking at the pretty girl in front of him, Chen Yun couldn't help but fell into deep thought. If what happened to Peter happened to him, according to his personality, he would definitely be extremely angry. He will not hesitate like Peter at all, but will turn the world upside down. Kill him bloody. I will protect you. Looking at Zhao Shiren, Chen Yun said solemnly. Hearing this, Zhao Shiren's expression changed slightly. Well, I see. But before Zhao Shiren could speak again, there was a burnt smell in the air. Oh, my food. The moment Zhao Shiren smelled it, he immediately exclaimed, and then rushed to the kitchen like a hot wheel. After a while, Zhao Shiren brought out a plate of dark scrambled eggs with an embarrassed expression. How about you try it? Looking at Zhao Shiren's expectant eyes, Chen Yun hesitated for a moment, and finally picked up an egg and put it in his mouth. As soon as I bit it, a pungent smell spread all over my body. You want to poison me to death. After spitting out the egg in his mouth, Chen Yun couldn't help it, and criticized mercilessly, this is simply a dark dish. But I want to cook for you. Hearing these words, the anger in Chen Yun's heart was instantly dissipated. Shaking his head helplessly, Chen Yun had no choice but to hold another piece of egg and stuff it into his mouth. But the taste is really unpalatable. Never mind. In the end, he gave up on eating this food, and instead said to Zhao Shiren, "Let me teach you. First cut like this, and then." When he came to the kitchen, Chen Yun taught Zhao Shiren how to make mapo tofu. Then, he finally understood why Zhao Shiren's cooking was unpalatable. Cut, not chopped. It's all rotten. My god, so many peppers have reached the lethal dose. Snapped. Looking at Zhao Shiren's clumsy appearance, Chen Yun couldn't help but patted her round butt. Bad guy, why did you hit someone? Zhao Shiren raised his mouth aggrieved, snorted softly and said, "I want Batman to teach you a lesson. Batman is off today, it's useless for you to break your throat." Chen Yun looked at her with a smile and said, then patted Zhao Shiren's elastic buttocks again. Hate. Being slapped on the buttocks by Chen Yun's hot hands, Zhao Shiren's face was ruddy, and his eyes were shy and coquettish. That delicate look of wanting to greet but rejecting is simply extremely alluring. It's delicious. Why does it feel better than the previous one? Holding a serving of mapo tofu, Zhao Shiren ate it deliciously. Looking at her expression of concentration and enjoyment, the mapo tofu this time seems to be poking his stomach. But Chen Yun knew that this mapo tofu was indeed good, but the method was very ordinary, and there was nothing commendable about it. Ever since he was favored by the goddess of luck, Chen Yun felt that his life had entered an easy mode. May all your wishes come true. It is simply the most common operation. Take the cooking just now as an example. The size of the tofu is just right, the spiciness of the chili is just right, and the seasoning is the finishing touch. Everything seems to have taken the best value within a range. When it was 12 o'clock, the harvest of the system made Chen Yun secretly happy. Sign in. Ding. Sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host for getting today's ability. Lucky. Double luck. With this thought in mind, Chen Yun, who had been busy all day, fell asleep. And when he woke up, he found that the whole world had become simpler. As soon as he left the house, Chen Yun was so lucky that the bus that hadn't waited for half a day in the past happened to arrive in front of him. And when he got into the car, he didn't even encounter a red light on the road. With a green light all the way, the bus is running fast, even faster than a taxi. This also made Chen Yun, who had gotten up late and was going to be late, feel secretly refreshed. My god, what is this? Just as the bus was about to arrive at Chen Yun's school, there was a sudden exclamation from the bus. Looking sideways, Chen Yun saw a strange scene. I saw dozens of $100 bills flying down from overhead. The sky is sending money. Seeing this scene, Chen Yun was also surprised. He opened the window to see what was going on. But before he saw clearly what was going on, he saw a backpack falling from the sky and falling into his arms accurately. What is this? Holding the backpack, Chen Yun was confused. Peering through the slit-open zipper, what was inside almost made his heart stop. Neat stacks of dollar bills were lying quietly inside. Take a closer look, the entire backpack of dollar bills has obviously reached several million. A windfall from the sky. Holding a big bag full of money, Chen Yun looked out of the window suspiciously, just in time to see a few heads wearing hoods. What about the money? Looking at the traffic passing under the bridge, the boss of the robber was stunned. After 3 months of scouting and 4 months of planning, he finally robbed the bank of 500 million yuan. Just because when he was running away, the wheel was punctured by the glass on the side of the road. As soon as the car door was opened, there was a sudden gust of wind, and the hard-earned money flew away like this. Thinking of this, the robber boss wanted to jump off the bridge and get his hard-earned money back. The robber boss couldn't swallow this breath, but just when he was about to jump off the bridge, his men stopped him. Run! The police are coming! Looking at the police car that was already visible, the robber boss had no choice but to command his subordinates to pick up the few $1,000s left on the ground with a face full of unwillingness, and then led them away without looking back. It turned out to be a robber. Looking at the people running away with weapons in their hands, and the police car approaching from a distance, Chen Yun understood what happened. At the same time, I am also sighing, is this still the favor of the goddess of luck? It was as if Lady Luck was lying in his arms. Would you like to take action? After touching the Batman mask, Chen Yun heard the call from the intercom in the police car next to him. Notice, the robber has been arrested. A man in a red tights has captured the robber. Repeat, the robber has been arrested. Oh my God, is this thread? He used thread to stick the robber to the ground. Hearing the words on the walkie-talkie, Chen Yun breathed a sigh of relief. Don't think about it, it must be Peter, the Spider-Man, who made the move. With a bag of money on his back, Chen Yun took advantage of the confusion and got off the stopped bus, ready to walk to school. But as soon as he got out of the car, he met several police officers head-on. Gentlemen and ladies, some stolen money is missing. So we need to check everyone's bags. The leading patrolman had a stern face, and the other patrols also dispersed, surrounding everyone present. And one of the patrolmen also came in front of Chen Yun. Sir, please open your backpack. If there is stolen money stolen by the robbers inside, you need to hand over the money. The policeman looked nervously at the backpack behind Chen Yun, and stretched out his hand in a search gesture. Seeing the movements of the patrol, Chen Yun frowned slightly. He had Batman's mask in his bag, if he opened it. Money is a trivial matter, but his identity as Batman will be exposed. No, money is not a trivial matter. When Chen Yun thought of the huge amount of property in his backpack, his heart ached. But just as his hand touched the backpack, a gust of wind blew by, and the eyes of the policeman in front of him were covered with a few banknotes. What? When the policeman took the banknotes away in a panic, he was shocked to find that Chen Yun had disappeared. This wind. After looking around, the policeman quietly put the money into his pocket, then ignored Chen Yun and went to find the next person to question him. Comfortable, carrying a bag full of extra banknotes, Chen Yun walked towards the school with a happy expression. On the way, the sound of ding ding text messages continued to come from the mobile phone. Reminder, your mobile phone payment is $30. Reminder, your mobile phone payment is $100. Kind tips. Looking at the recharged text messages constantly reminding him, Chen Yun felt secretly refreshed. According to the urine nature of this good luck system, someone must have charged the wrong phone number and flushed the money into his phone number. Ouch! While looking down at the phone, Chen Yun suddenly tripped. Looking down, a ring buried on the ground was shining brightly at him. I'm going, this is a bit too much. Pulling the ring out from the ground, looking at the huge diamond on it, Chen Yun murmured. Then, he was surprised to find an even bigger surprise. An exquisite men's watch was quietly hanging on the branch in front of his eyes. Good guy, there's more to come. Without stepping on the feet, Chen Yun reached out and took the watch off the tree, and stuffed it into the backpack that had been bulging with various items. In a short distance of a few hundred meters, such accidents are simply countless. In the end, Chen Yun could only helplessly look at the backpack that could no longer fit, and simply ignored all kinds of surprises that could no longer fit. But what he didn't expect was that even though he was walking so slowly, he was still not late. 10 seconds before the class bell rang, Chen Yun arrived in the classroom. Chen, you're not late today. As soon as he entered the classroom, Peter came over with a curious face. After looking Chen Yun up and down, Peter whispered excitedly, today is really exciting. I actually met a few bank robbers. These criminals are also unlucky to meet me. While talking, Peter made a few gestures with his hand. I found a place to change into clothes, and I'll catch them all. By the way, seeing Chen Yun's still calm expression, Peter said enthusiastically again, look at this. As he spoke, Peter mysteriously took out 2 bottles of drinks from his pocket. Look, in order to thank me, the patrol gave me 2 bottles of drinks. That's it. Looking at the 2 bottles of drinks in Peter's hand with disgust, Chen Yun quietly touched the backpack full of dollar bills. Also meeting the robbers, Peter got 2 bottles of drinks with his own efforts. And I was just a passerby, and I got millions of dollars easily. This is really. It turned out to be a drink that can be drawn. Peter, who took out the drink, seemed to have discovered a new world, and happily twisted open a bottle of drink. It didn't hit. This bottle is for you. Throwing away the bottle cap in disgust, Peter handed another bottle of drink to Chen Yun. Chen Yun opened the drink indifferently, and before he could react, Peter snatched the bottle cap. Let me see your luck, is it also? My goodness. It turned out to be the special prize. Chen, you've won the jackpot. After confirming the winning, Peter almost jumped up with joy. We actually won 1,000 bottles of drinks. This is so cool. This is a drink that I can drink for years. Looking at the excited Peter, Chen Yun shook his head. Compared with the dollar bills in the backpack, these childlike prizes have no stimulation to Chen Yun. However, this also annoyed Chen Yun a little. He had already begun to feel the inconvenience of this ability. This kind of invincible luck is too terrifying, it has reached the point of affecting reality. If possible, Chen Yun hopes that this ability can be turned on and off whenever he wants, instead of being uncontrollable like now. After chatting with Peter for a long time, Chen Yun discovered something. The class bell says it has been ringing for a long time, why hasn't class started yet? The first class is chemistry class. Because there is a teacher who likes to make explosions, Chen Yun can't sleep well, so it has always been Chen Yun's least favorite class. Just when Chen Yun thought there was an accident really happened. The chemistry teacher didn't come, but a serious professor walked in from the door. Because he was involved in a bank robbery on the way, your chemistry teacher is being inspected by the police. This class is changed to self-study. While speaking, the professor glanced in Chen Yun's direction. What he didn't expect was that Chen Yun, who is late every day, was not late today. This discovery touched the professor's heart, and he beckoned kindly, "Chen, come out with me." Chen Yun stood up in bewilderment, but before he could leave the classroom, he heard a shrill scream from behind him. What? Looking back, Chen Yun was delighted. Norden, who had provoked him, was lying on the ground and howling non-stop, with a few sharp nails stuck in his buttocks. Norden, who was rolling and crying on the ground, attracted the professor's attention. The professor stopped in his tracks, and asked with a worried expression, "What's going on?" It hurts me to death." Norden wanted to speak, but was unable to speak because of the huge pain in his buttocks. It never occurred to him that he just thought that the professor wanted to criticize Chen Yun's absence from class last week. Slapped the table down to celebrate, and just. "Professor," Norden just patted the table. Then the chair suddenly shattered. A girl behind Norden explained what had happened with a pale face, and finally looked at Norden's tragic wound with lingering fear. "What the hell? Take him to the hospital." The professor only glanced at it before turning his head away, disgusted by Norden, who had a blooming ass. "It's not about me, is it?" Looking at Norden, who was carried out of the classroom like a dead pig, Chen Yun thought to himself. But soon, he lost interest in Norden. Since the last time he was taught a lesson, this man didn't even have the courage to look him in the eye. Even if you have an idea, you have to hold it back. "Professor Mullen, what do you want from me?" Following the professor out, Chen Yunkai asked with a worried expression. For this Professor Mullen, he has always been a little afraid. This is an old pedant with a bad temper, especially in terms of teaching. Almost every course is arranged to the most stringent level. Moreover, Mullen is also a racist who believes in white supremacy. Although Chen Yun doesn't care about these things, Mu Lun, who holds the two life and death powers of scholarship and whether he can graduate, still have enough majesty among the students. "Oh, look, the gifted student in our class." To Chen Yun's surprise, Professor Mullen did not criticize him as usual. Uncharacteristically, he praised Chen Yun, "Your recent test scores are very good. It was beyond my expectations." Smiling kindly, Professor Mullen continued, "In the future, you don't have to come to school for class." I was fired. After listening to Professor Mullen's words, Chen Yun was completely dumbfounded. He never imagined that the professor who praised him just now would fire him when he changed the subject. Just as Chen Yun wanted to explain, Professor Mullen continued to laugh and said, "Chen, why are you unhappy? For future courses, you can come whenever you want, and don't use it if you don't want to. But for this matter, I have one more request." After a pause, Professor Mullen said earnestly to Chen Yunyu, "During the exam, I hope you can show up. As long as you can continue to maintain the performance of last time, I will leave you with the best university recommendation letter." After speaking, Professor Mullen left the classroom with his hands behind his back, leaving only Chen Yun, who was still in a dazed state. "It seems that I have not been expelled." Chen Yun was still in a daze when his cell phone rang. "Chen, has the school arranged your studies well?" As soon as the connection was made, Coulson's voice sounded, "There is a new mission that needs your help." School, task. Hearing this, Chen Yun finally realized suddenly. It turned out that S.H.I.E.L.D. took action, with the power of this organization spanning the world. It is simply not something a school can resist. After thinking this through, Chen Yun finally breathed a sigh of relief. Sure enough, it's better to lean against the big tree. Since it was S.H.I.E.L.D.'s move, Chen Yun naturally didn't need to worry. After telling Peter, he disappeared from the classroom. Come to the roof of the school and find a recliner to lie down on. It's comfortable, it's the best way to sleep like this. After sleeping for a while, Chen Yun just woke up when a Kun-style fighter flew over his head. Looking at the time, it was exactly 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Hi, Chen, Batman. Arriving at S.H.I.E.L.D. in a Kun-style, Chen Yun just got off the plane. Leo Fitz rushed over and gave Chen Yun a warm hug. When did his relationship with Chen become so good? Gemma Simmons followed behind, watching her boyfriend and Chen Yun embrace each other with jealousy. From the moment he knew that Chen Yun was Batman, Coulson explained to Gemma speechlessly, you know, Fitz is always fascinated by these things. Chen, welcome back. Shaking her head, Gemma also walked to Chen Yun's side. Thank you. Pushing Fitz away in disgust, Chen Yun hugged Gemma equally enthusiastically. You've done a great job, Batman. Can you take me on this mission? Gemma naturally admired Chen Yun, a Batman who punishes evil and promotes good. She volunteered and asked Chen Yun to take action with her. And me, I want to go too. Fitz was also scratching his head and wanting to participate in the mission. At the same time, he stared at Chen Yun's Batman equipment and said, after seeing your actions, I have some new ideas about your equipment. I can add some new functions to the equipment. Hearing this, Chen Yun immediately took off his equipment and handed it to Fitz. Since there is free labor to help him update his equipment, what reason does he have to refuse? This mission is more complicated. After everyone finished talking about the past, Coulson began to introduce this mission to Chen Yun. We're going to capture a foreigner. Alien. Hearing this word again, Chen Yun asked suspiciously, what the hell is a foreigner? The alien is actually a superhuman. Hearing Chen Yun's question, Coulson patiently explained, we are not the only planet with life in the universe. A long time ago, there was an extraterrestrial race that visited the Earth. We call these people the Kree. Speaking of this, Coulson turned on the projector and operated it a few times, and a human body shape suddenly appeared on the screen. The Kree did a lot of experiments on our ancestors. Although the Kree eventually ended the experiment, those who did the experiment survived. They, like other humans, can have children. The human body on the screen has undergone some changes following Coulson's explanation. Some bodies were covered in ice, while others were engulfed in flames. But their offspring are different from us, with some unique gene fragments in their bodies. These people are called aliens. They may not wake up for a lifetime, and they look like ordinary people. But if awakened, it will produce all kinds of strange abilities. Pointing to the body engulfed by flames on the curtain, Coulson continued, what we are going to capture this time is a strange person with the ability of flames. As for why you need to participate. Speaking of this, Coulson said with a strange expression, we need your silence ability. Speaking ability, Chen Yun asked suspiciously, why is it forbidden? Because that person breathes fire with his mouth. Coulson explained with a smile, I think your silence ability is his natural enemy. And the code name of this operation is called Operation Fire Spitman. Breathe fire with your mouth, silence. Chen Yun nodded thoughtfully, and at the same time, a little understanding came into his heart. These aliens are actually a bit similar to him, and they all have various abilities. The only difference is probably that their abilities are produced by alien genes, while their own abilities come from the system. We have two plans for this operation. Plan A is to use your silence technique to interrupt this alien's ability, and then arrest him. Speaking of this, Coulson glanced at Chen Yun, and said solemnly, for this mission, it is best to capture this alien alive. This will allow us to study fragments of his genes. As for Plan B, it's if the gag doesn't work. Then you are responsible for diverting the target's attention, and then let others release the isolation chamber and capture this fire-breathing man. After giving the order, Coulson looked at Chen Yun. I have no opinion. Since the task has been arranged so carefully, Chen Yun naturally has no objection. He nodded in agreement. Seeing that Chen Yun had no objection, several people put on their equipment and boarded the Kun-type fighter jet, and followed the plane to take off. This time, the mission led by Coulson officially began. Soon, fighter planes with powerful reconnaissance capabilities found the flame-breathing man. Before taking action, Coulson reminded with a serious face, "This alien is very powerful. The flames spewed out have a high temperature of several thousand degrees. I hope you can face up to this mission and avoid unnecessary casualties." After finishing speaking, Coulson turned his gaze to Chen Yun. "Chen, this time it's mainly you who made the move, so be careful." "No problem." Chen Yun nodded slightly in agreement. Chen Yun still cared about Coulson's reminder. After all, he is just a rookie who has just entered S.H.I.E.L.D. If he suffered any losses because of this, wouldn't it be a loss? "Then prepare to land, Chen." Fitz controlled the fighter plane to hover at an altitude meters, and then said to Chen Yun, "Press the button on the left, there is a parachute and your equipment inside." Left. Chen Yun turned his gaze to his left, and sure enough, he found a blue button on the fuselage of the fighter. Boom. As soon as he pressed the button, the parachute Chen Yun imagined did not appear, but instead he felt the plane shake violently. "Oh my God, our isolation warehouse fell." In the cabin, Fitz's wailing came. Coulson and Gemma stared at Chen Yun, who was at a loss. "Here's your parachute." After a while, it was Jenny who took out Chen Yun's parachute. Plan B was terminated early, and several people looked at each other in blank dismay. Just when the few people who were speechless were about to skydive, Fitz's voice sounded again. "Look what I saw. The fire-breathing man was caught by the isolation warehouse." "What? The mission was successful. Hear the result." Chen Yun was speechless. A mistake in operation turned out to be a prerequisite for the success of the mission. Such luck is really exciting. I actually caught it. Looking at the picture on the monitor, Coulson was depressed. He made so many plans before coming here, but none of them came to fruition. In order to prevent accidents in the mission, he specially mobilized super female thug Melinda May and Chen Yun, a popular fried chicken. In the end, he was escorted by a veteran agent who had experienced many battles. Careful planning and abundant manpower. But now, forget it, since we've caught it, let's hurry down. Patting Chen Yun on the shoulder, Coulson said, "Anyway, as long as we can do business." Soon, the fighter plane landed next to the isolation warehouse where the fire-breathing man was held. Although I knew it a long time ago, I waited until I saw the fire-breathing man covered by the isolation chamber. Several people still looked at each other, and Gemma Simmons murmured, "This is too incredible." As a scientific researcher of S.H.I.E.L.D., for the first time, Gemma felt that there was a problem with the knowledge she had learned since childhood. This is a height of more than meters. Even if it is directly smashed to death by the isolation warehouse, the probability of being directly captured is higher than that of direct capture. The first time I officially participated in the mission of S.H.I.E.L.D., it ended before it even started. The fighting spirit that Chen Yun had just mentioned was immediately vented, and he shrugged helplessly. He really can't be blamed for this. All he did was press the wrong button. Tisk tisk. I don't know if he is unlucky or we are too lucky. Touching the isolation chamber, Fitz looked at the fire-breathing man curiously. Over 1 meter in the sky. The fire-breathing man is lucky not to be directly smashed into meat. A few people talked to each other, and the fire-breathing people who heard it straight away were about to breathe fire. You don't talk about martial arts, but you actually engage in sneak attacks. In the isolation chamber, the flame-breathing man was full of anger. Anyone who just went out to have lunch and suddenly lost their freedom will not feel better. Moreover, it is still such an outrageous thing. There is a kind of heads up. Thousands of words from the fire-breathing man were finally condensed into this sentence. Unfortunately, no one dumped him at all. He also tried to break through this layer of glass and escape, but after trying for a long time, he couldn't do it at all. In the end, they could only watch helplessly as Chen Yun and others put the isolation warehouse into the Kun-style fighter. Taking back the fire-breathing man, the few people who were idle were all staring. They envisioned many plans, fighting hundreds of rounds with the fire-breathing man, and finally arrested him. Or the fire-breathing man resisted in a corner, and they had to kill him, etc. Similar prophecies. No matter who previewed more, who would have thought that it would be solved so quickly? Since there is so much time left, why don't we go have a barbecue? Curiously looking at the flame-breathing man who looked exactly like ordinary people, Chen Yun lost interest and made a suggestion. Hearing Chen Yun's words, several people turned their attention to Coulson, who could make decisions. Now we just need to wait for the people from the headquarters to hand over. Speaking of which, since Chen Yun joined us at S.H.I.E.L.D., we haven't held a welcome ceremony for him yet. Coulson smiled, and then said to several people, in this case, this barbecue can be regarded as Chen Yun's welcome party. Haha, long live barbecue. I want to eat barbecue. The exciting mission ended strangely before it even started, although it was a bit bizarre. But being able to eat a barbecue still made a few people happy. Seeing the happy people, Coulson shook his head, stepped aside and switched on the communicator. What's going on? What's wrong? As soon as the communicator was connected, there was a nervous inquiry from Nick Fury. Touching the blindfold subconsciously, a little haze appeared in Nick Fury's heart. Sudden communication like this while on a mission usually happens when things are extremely bad. No, our mission is over. It's over. You just arrived at the mission location. Hearing Coulson's words, Nick Fury was surprised, and he subconsciously looked at the time next to him. What are you doing? It's really done. What happened is. Hearing Nick Fury's surprised voice, Coulson explained what happened with a wry smile. Mazefakel. Nick Fury is speechless. What the hell is this? Such a serious arrest mission ended like a child's play. I will send other agents to hand over to you. Facing this kind of unlucky incident, Nick Fury had nothing to say. Remember to write an action report. Report. Coulson, people are stupid. How to write a report? Can such a fantasy thing be expressed in words? After Coulson finished his report, everyone boarded the plane again, and the fighter plane flew to a seaside after a while. As soon as she arrived at the beach, Melinda May opened her hands, enjoying the coolness and warmth brought by the beach. She closed her eyes and smiled intoxicatedly. I haven't felt so comfortable for a long time. This is. Looking at Melinda's appearance, which was very different from her usual cold appearance, Chen Yun couldn't help but ask in doubt, what's wrong with her? After a certain mission, she didn't talk much. With a sigh, Coulson continued to explain, although that mission earned her the title of Iron Cavalry. But she hasn't smiled since then. After a pause, Coulson said with complicated eyes, that time, Melinda killed a foreign girl with her own hands. Unexpectedly, does Melinda have such a past? Thinking of Melinda, who was taciturn before and always acted like an invisible person, Chen Yun shook his head secretly. Chen, let's go fishing. Enjoying a moment of tranquility by the sea, Melinda cast her eyes on Chen Yun. For this Batman who was defeated by him not long ago, but now has grown into a big name. Melinda's mood was very complicated. On the one hand, it was due to her own wrong judgment at the beginning, and on the other hand, it was because Chen Yun became stronger too quickly. Okay, Chen Yun readily agreed to Melinda's invitation. Hearing about fishing, Fitz and Gemma also clamored to join in. In order to be able to catch fish, several people showed their own skills, and soon made a fishing rod. This time I will definitely take the first place. Fitz took the lead, carrying the fishing rod and walking in the front. But before he reached the beach, a sudden gust of wind knocked him to the ground. Oh my God! As soon as he got up from the ground, Fitz saw the wonders in the sky with a face full of shock. Countless fish were swept into the air by the strong wind, and immediately fell on the beach like rain. In order to catch the fire-breathing man, we deliberately chose the day when Typhoon Merlin made landfall. While avoiding the fish falling from the sky, Melinda explained with a wry smile, I just didn't expect the typhoon to come so soon. Is that right? With a speechless expression on his face, Chen Yun threw away the fishing rod in his hand. Chen Yun wanted to cry but had no tears. This invincible luck is really too old. This is still fishing. Chen Yun threw away the fishing rod with a resentful expression. Looking at the school of fish that spread all over the ground, and it was a little difficult to even get a foothold. Even if Chen Yun was interested, he would not choose to go fishing again. Surrounded in a circle, several people drank beer and enjoyed the grilled fish feast made by Gemma. A small welcoming banquet ended quickly with Fitz's ugly singing. After drinking and eating, the people from S.H.I.E.L.D. also arrived at the scene. Watching the isolation warehouse loaded with fire-breathing men being moved into a transport plane, this mission is considered to have come to an end. What the hell am I here for? At this moment, Chen Yun's mind was full of question marks. In addition to taking a few planes, drinking and eating barbecue, others came, but did nothing. Luck. With a few fat fish in his arms, Chen Yun returned to Zhongcheng district. As soon as he returned to the rental house, Chen Yun quickly turned on the TV. Holding the lottery ticket bought by Zhonglu in his hand, Chen Yun nervously watched the live broadcast of the lottery on TV. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. When the result of the lottery came out, the expression on Chen Yun's face became extremely exciting. Really? I actually 500 million won. Excitedly stuffing the lottery ticket into his pocket, Chen Yun laughed happily. This is the correct way to open good luck. Thinking of the 500 million that is no different from picking up for nothing, Chen Yun immediately decided to claim the prize right away. Wow, how lucky you are. When they arrived at the lottery station, even the cashier couldn't help but praise Chen Yun's good luck, and continued to persuade, since you're so lucky, why don't you try our new scratch-off lottery ticket? Just try it. Chen Yun, who had already walked to the door, immediately turned his head when he heard the words of the cashier. Now, he doesn't even hate this uncontrolled good luck. With a wave of his hand, Chen Yun directly bought scratch-off lottery tickets worth thousands of dollars. Sitting opposite the cashier, Chen Yun started to scratch the lottery tickets. As the prize ticket in Chen Yun's hand was gradually scratched away, the face of the cashier became greener and greener. Oh my God, I won the lottery again. The cashier looked at the scratched-off lottery ticket with a look of hell on his face. Even if everyone wins a lottery, it's still a big prize. In the blink of an eye, the lottery tickets drawn by Chen Yun were worth more than 500 million US dollars. One more pack. Excitedly wiping off his sweat, Chen Yun was ready to continue his grand career of scratching prizes. Sir, our lottery tickets are all sold out. But the cashier couldn't laugh anymore. Such a wicked thing really made him both shocked and frightened. No matter what Chen Yun asked, the cashier would never let Chen Yun buy it. After waiting for a long time, I saw that the cashier looked like he would not sell his own lottery ticket. Chen Yun could only regretfully walk home with a bonus of tens of millions. Walking on the road, Chen Yun was also thinking to himself. Before and after, I am also a multi-millionaire. Is it possible to think about the house? Thinking of the house, Chen Yun immediately took action and contacted a large real estate agency on the internet. The only pity was that the agent did not have a house that satisfied Chen Yun, so the matter of the house had to be put on hold temporarily. Back at the rental house, Chen Yun began to study his lucky attributes. As usual, Chen Yun chose to experiment by playing games. Boom! With a gunshot, the headshot kill picture is displayed on the computer screen. This is too outrageous. Shooting casually is the game process of headshot killing, which made Chen Yun quickly lose the fun of the game. Then open an online game for drawing cards, randomly draw 10 consecutive draws given by the game, and the golden SSRs full of screens made Chen Yun shout outrageous. Graduate after one round of 10 rounds, how can you play this? Looking at his character, he could kill all directions in Novice Village with his eyes closed. The speechless Chen Yun turned off the computer directly, feeling that life had lost its meaning. After calming down, Chen Yun turned his attention to the skill description. Goddess of Luck's favor. According to the description, it's just an ordinary passive skill. And the lucky one is even more brutal. This skill can directly double your luck value. There is no instruction manual. Sighing, Chen Yun still decided to give it a try. He held his breath, and began to control and turn off these two skills in his mind. Maybe it was the bonus brought by the high luck value. After several experiments, Chen Yun actually found the close button that shouldn't exist. After turning off his super lucky, Chen Yun turned on the card drawing game again. I smoked another 10 rounds, and this time it was much more normal, and there was not even a special effect. Is this my original luck? Chen Yun, who was used to good luck, was still a little disappointed when he saw this result. But soon, he laughed again. Chen Yun intends to use the current aura of luck only when making important decisions or matters. In this way, living will be a challenge. Since experiments have been done all the time, only Spider-Man Peter is acting alone in maintaining law and order at night. After Chen Yun's aura of good luck was turned off, his mobile phone never stopped. Chen, I caught a robber. Really? Very good. Chen, I found a den, there are 3 or 4 of them, can you give me some advice? Don't hesitate, go straight in with A. I smashed this den, but found more than 10 kilograms of drugs, what should I do? Burned. Faced with Peter's endless questions, Chen Yun really lost his patience. When the next call came, before Peter could speak, Chen Yun yelled, "Shut up." After finishing speaking, Chen Yun, who felt comfortable, simply blocked Peter directly. If it wasn't for the fact that the silence technique couldn't be used along the phone line, Chen Yun even wanted to silence this chatterbox directly. Chen Yun, try today's dish. As soon as he put down the phone, the door of Chen Yun's room was opened. Zhao Shiren came in with a plate, and said arrogantly as he walked, "I have been studying how to make delicious dishes for the past 2 days. Try it quickly." Under Zhao Shiren's expectant gaze, Chen Yun took a bite. To Chen Yun's surprise, the food this time could be swallowed. Well, it's finally edible, and those ingredients that can fill several trash cans are not in vain. The previous ones were simply making drugs. HMPH. It's obviously delicious. Zhao Shiren curled his lips in dissatisfaction, "You even said that I was making drugs. Is your skin itchy?" Glancing at Zhao Shiren, Chen Yun said disdainfully, "Do you want to be spanked again?" "How dare you?" Zhao Shiren covered his butt, with a look of unnaturalness on his face, "Don't spank my butt again." Looking at Zhao Shiren's shy appearance, Chen Yun raised his hand unconsciously. Soon, there was a rhythmic snapping sound in the room. Tutoring mode, open again. The time soon came to 12 o'clock in the evening. Turning on the lucky halo again, Chen Yun started today's lucky draw. Sign in. Ding, sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host for getting today's ability. A time traveler's pocket watch. What's this? Chen Yunggong wanted to study the newly acquired ability. I heard the system in my head make a sound again. Ding, sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host for getting today's ability. Professor Du's teleportation. Why is it still a double cannon? Looking at the superpowers he obtained one after another, Chen Yun couldn't help but widen his eyes, but what he didn't expect was that the system continued to make noise. Ding, sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host for getting today's ability. Goyu, a good friend of the 7th Hokage, writes sharing eyes. Is this a stuck bug? Still, Chen Yun, who came to his senses, was immediately overjoyed. Just by opening a lucky aura, he got 3 abilities. Isn't this too cool? Looking at the 3 new abilities happily, Chen Yun couldn't help but narrowed his eyes with a smile. Take a closer look, this time the ability is also different from those 2 lucky skills, both have their own manuals. A time traveler's pocket watch that can reset the time within 5 minutes. Whether it is the past or the future, this pocket watch has the power to allow Chen Yun to travel through time. Professor Du's teleportation can travel to any space by opening the door. As long as Chen Yun can think of it, he can appear anywhere in the world. As for the Goyu Sharingan, a good friend of the 7th Hokage, it is an upgraded version of the previous skill. The eyes of the original 7th Hokage, after Chen Yun's baptism in the battle, have successfully broken through into a Goyu. Coupled with this newly obtained ability, it is directly upgraded to Goyu Sharingan. Greatly enhanced the already powerful dynamic vision and static vision. To put it simply, these abilities can be summarized as the ability of time, the ability of space, and the advanced Sharingan. The favor of the goddess of luck is really against the sky. Chen Yun couldn't help sighing at the good luck brought by the aura of luck. But before he finished his joy, there was a sudden roar outside the window. The roar came from far and near, accompanied by huge vibrations. Chen Yun, who didn't know why, just pushed open the window, and was stunned by the scene in front of him. What is this? The end of the world. In the sky, countless fragments like meteorites fell from the sky like a goddess scattering flowers. These meteorites are as dense as rain, overwhelming. The whole world seems to have fallen into the doomsday. Suddenly, the whole street seemed to be in disaster. Many houses collapsed, exploded, and flames shot into the sky. In an instant, Chen Yun heard countless howls and screams in his ears. Chen Yun, what's going on? Just when Chen Yun was in a daze, Zhao Shiren ran into Chen Yun's bedroom in panic. The floral nightgown she was wearing had a burn mark on the hem of the skirt. Zhao Shiren's distressed appearance made Chen Yun's heart tighten even more. He suddenly connected everything together. The hapless bank robber dropped the diamond ring and watch on the floor. The flame-breathing man who was directly covered by the isolation chamber, and this time the meteorite fell from the sky. My good luck is exchanged for other people's bad luck. With all these things, a hint of understanding suddenly appeared in Chen Yun's heart. Oops, the aura of luck is not off yet. Chen Yun's heart sank when he looked up at the meteorite that was heading straight towards him and fell to the nearby house. Looking at the scene next to him that was even more terrifying than the end of the world, Chen Yun couldn't sit still anymore. Taking out the time traveler's pocket watch, Chen Yun's expression was extremely serious. Activate the ability. I choose to go back in time. Under Zhao Shiren's surprised gaze, Chen Yun turned into a ball of white light and disappeared from her eyes in an instant. Call. Resisting the dizziness caused by time travel, Chen Yun quickly turned off the aura of luck. Then he quickly opened the window, and what he saw in front of him was the still quiet and peaceful neighborhood. Solve it. Chen Yun breathed a sigh of relief. While Chen Yun was observing the sky, at the same time, S.H.I.E.L.D. was the first to discover the meteorite. Boss, a huge meteorite is heading for New York. It weighs 50 tons. Nick Fury, who was sleeping, was awakened by a phone call. Mazefakel, stop him for me. Regardless of getting dressed, Nick Fury, who knew the situation was urgent, gave the order without even opening his eyes. When Nick Fury arrived in the command room in a hurry, the top and bottom of S.H.I.E.L.D. were ready. In the picture sent back from the satellite, a huge meteorite is hitting the Earth at super fast speed. Extraterrestrial nuclear bombs are ready. In an atmosphere of anxious waiting, the nuclear bomb hidden in outer space by S.H.I.E.L.D. is finally ready. Detonate. Nick Fury immediately issued an order, and the entire meteorite was enveloped by a huge explosion in an instant. With a dazzling light, the place where the meteorite was originally was turned into a void. Seeing the disappearance of the meteorite, everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D. breathed a sigh of relief. The monitor shouted in horror, "We have failed. The meteorite split into countless pieces and is heading for New York." What? Hearing this result, Nick Fury's heart sank immediately. Without the aura of luck, is it that I don't even plan to let it go? Chen Yun, who thought the matter was over, was shocked to find that the meteorite still appeared. Different from last time, this time the meteorites did not avoid him, but smashed into the street where Chen Yun was located regardless of each other. Dodging the meteorite attack in a thrilling manner, Chen Yun could only take out the time traveler's pocket watch again. Activate the ability. I choose to go back in time. A white light flashed, and the time returned to 5 minutes ago again. Chen Yun gritted his teeth. This time he did not choose to turn off the aura of luck. With a movement of his eyes, Chen Yun calmly walked to the door of the bedroom. Activate the ability. Professor Du's teleportation. Turning the handle to open the door, the living room where it was supposed to be disappeared, and a vast desert appeared in front of Chen Yun's eyes. Through Professor Du's teleportation, Chen Yun arrived at the other end of the Earth. Sahara Desert. At the same time that Chen Yun arrived, S.H.I.E.L.D. also received the message. The trajectory of the meteorite has deviated. According to calculations, its landing point will be in the center of the Sahara Desert. No need to intercept. Seeing the meteorite deviate from its orbit, Nick Fury breathed a sigh of relief, and chose not to pay attention to this small meteorite. In the monitoring screen of the satellite, the meteorite turned into a long rainbow and plunged into the very center of the Sahara Desert. Phew, scared me to death. Looking at the meteorite that fell in the desert not far away, Chen Yun's heart finally let go. If it weren't for the god-level perception not giving any danger warning, he would have run away long ago. Chen Yun wiped his cold sweat, and immediately turned off the lucky halo. Such good luck, the price is too great. The huge impact of the meteorite's landing blasted a large crater with a diameter of more 50 meters on the ground. After confirming that there was no danger, Chen Yun cautiously came to the side of the crater. The crystal-clear meteorite is shining brightly at the bottom of the pit, like a flawless crystal. Isn't this a diamond? Touching the radiant meteorite, Chen Yun was amazed, when a thought suddenly popped up in his mind. He thought of the diamond resolution method he had seen before, and leaned over to the meteorite and breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the breath that quickly dissipated, Chen Yun's heartbeat seemed to slow down a beat. It turned out to be a diamond. How much is such a large diamond worth? Although artificial diamonds already exist, pure natural diamonds are still a sought-after luxury. What's more, this is a huge diamond weighing dozens of tons. The market price of a 1-carat diamond is worth thousands of dollars. And diamonds are things that get bigger and more valuable. Posted. After walking around the meteorite several times excitedly, Chen Yun was dumbfounded. The meteorite was really too heavy, and Chen Yun tried his best, but still couldn't move it a little bit. Such a big movement of the meteorite will definitely be monitored, in case it is discovered by others. Thinking of the possibility of his money flying away, Chen Yun became anxious. But even if it was buried on the spot, such a big hole could not be filled by him alone in a short time. Being unable to move, smashing and reluctant, Chen Yun didn't know how to deal with it. Just when Chen Yun was at a loss, he suddenly thought of the culprit who landed the meteorite. Open the aura of luck. Chen Yun stepped on the meteorite, and then activated the aura of luck. Just as Chen Yun expected, the lucky halo was really lucky. The moment the lucky halo was opened, a gust of wind swept in. The soaring wind brought up countless yellow sands in the desert, raging in the desert like covering the sky and covering the earth. After a while, except for the place where Chen Yun stood, the other places were completely covered by yellow sand. It's done, call it quits. After the strong wind dissipated, Chen Yun jumped off the meteorite. The meteorite was carefully buried, and the crater that required hundreds of people to cover it day and night was easily covered. In order to avoid being lost, Chen Yun also buried a door made of dead wood. Even if he forgot where the meteorite was buried, he could still use his ability to find the door. After doing all this, Chen Yun summoned a door at random, and returned to the rental house through his ability in an instant. He can return home from thousands of kilometers away in an instant, which makes him sigh the power of the supernatural power, which is too easy to use. Moreover, this ability can be used indefinitely without any restrictions. The only flaw is that interstellar travel cannot be realized for the time being. Otherwise, give Chen Yun a door, and he can even go directly to other planets. What's even more exaggerated is that as long as he is on the Earth, whether it is by sea, land, air or underground, Chen Yun can arrive in an instant. For Chen Yun, the Earth has completely become his back garden. As long as he wants, he can drink a cup of coffee in Paris, and then go to Guangfu to have morning tea. Go to the capital to eat roast duck at noon, and then go to the Empire State Building for dinner to eat steak. After the exciting meteorite incident, Chen Yun also felt a little tired when he returned home. Giving up on continuing to study the newly acquired Sharingan, Chen Yun decided to make up his mind first. Plunging headlong into the bed, the tired Chen Yun soon fell asleep. 3 hours later, several Quinjet fighter jets arrived in the Sahara Desert. Boss, nothing was found here. We've done a blanket search here, but we still haven't found anything. The pilot sent to investigate the meteor incident reported to Nick Fury, who was still waiting for the results at headquarters. These people are all elites in S.H.I.E.L.D. and hold important positions in the Bureau. But they searched continuously for 3 hours, but found nothing. Hearing the report, Nick Fury showed a look of disappointment on his face. He didn't expect that he would get nothing at all. Mazefakel, that's a meteorite weighing dozens of tons. Nick Fury cursed under his breath. List this matter as a secret event in the Bureau. Adjust the level of secrecy to the highest level. Nick Fury felt a headache at the thought of such a large meteorite disappearing out of thin air. After mobilizing so many people, there is still no clue, except that the meteorite was buried deep in the desert, so there is only one explanation. Someone took the meteorite first. Mazefakel. Nick Fury felt even more irritable when he thought that there were still people on Earth who could move faster than S.H.I.E.L.D. Early the next morning, Chen Yun got up early, activated his supernatural ability and came to the desert. Chen Yun came to the place where the meteorite was buried again. Sensing that the underground door still exists, Chen Yun breathed a sigh of relief. Looks like it hasn't been spotted. But when Chen Yun wanted to dig out the meteorite, he encountered difficulties. With just one meteorite, Chen Yun was helpless, and with the sand buried on the meteorite, it was impossible for him to move it out by himself. I can't do it alone, I have to find a helper. Chen Yun thought for a long time, and suddenly a person appeared in his mind. Tony Stark. As one of the world's top super rich, Tony Stark not only has the ability to take out meteorites, but also has the ability to directly buy meteorites. After hesitating for a while, Chen Yun decided to talk to him. After finding out the phone number sent by Tony Starkton, Chen Yun dialed it. "Hi, Chen. What's the matter with me?" As soon as it was connected, Tony Stark's voice came over. Tony, who had always wanted Chen Yun to be his bodyguard, was very enthusiastic. "Are you free recently? I have a big baby I want someone to take a look at." "Wow, I hope that big baby is not something bad." Tony made a joke, and then said regretfully, "Sorry, I'm in the Middle East now. There's a weapons forum here, so I'll call you as soon as I get back to New York, okay?" Hearing Tony's words, Chen Yun nodded and agreed. "Okay, then I wish you a smooth journey, and we will contact you when you come back." Hanging up the phone with a little regret, Chen Yun planned to go back to the rental house. As soon as the arbitrary door was summoned, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s communicator suddenly rang. "Chen, are you home? A Quinjet will be at your house in 10 minutes. Turning on the communicator, Coulson's urgent voice came from inside. "We found Captain America in the Pacific. He's still alive. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more."